Under the full moon, a curved blade slices through the night air, leaving a trail of blood over the rooftops. The weapon belongs to a lone warrior who carves a path of destruction with a glowing pink aura. His fierce attack cuts down another opponent, who falls before the powerful slash. The warrior stands with blood on his face, his expression a mix of exhaustion and grim determination. He is surrounded by fallen bodies while a voice taunts him for using techniques other than his family's. The speaker is Dugdong, leader of the Blood Demon cult, who notes that the family technique was passed to a brat. The former head, Sanwu Jin, looks down and calls the warrior vicious for slaughtering his own family. Dugdang then gestures toward a young girl in the distance, asking what he will do about the child. A look of despair crosses the warrior's face, which seems to please the cult leader. She cruelly orders Sanwu Jin, the last head of his family, to kill the young girl as well. The girl, Sanwu Yanhwa, holds her own sword, her face filled with a mix of fear and defiance. At that moment, the ghostly figures of his fallen comrades appear behind Sanwu Jin. He lowers his head in sorrow, apologizing to his captain for feeling like he could never be like him. A spectral hand comforts him as his captain's spirit gently asks if he is cowering again. The spirit tells him he has already done his best and that the results are not his responsibility. He remembers his captain's words about never giving up and decides to do what he can until the very end. He realizes that if he is captured, he will become Dugdang's puppet and a threat to his captain. With renewed resolve, he decides he would rather die by his own will than be taken. The cult leader watches in shock and outrage, demanding to know what he is planning to do. He declares that she won't be able to use his body and vows to kill her, even if he becomes a ghost. Without hesitation, he plunges the blade into his own chest as the cult leader screams in fury. His vision blurs and the world around him fades into a distant, hazy memory. As he falls, he regrets running away from his problems instead of living more earnestly. His spirit drifts in a purple void, and he hears an angry voice calling his name. Suddenly, an old man with a furious expression demands to know if Jin has anything to say. He finds himself kneeling on the floor, much younger and with his hands bound, looking utterly confused. The young man is in a large room, being judged by the old man while others watch from the side. He recognizes the man as his father, Sanwu Jung, whom he has not seen in 10 years. The youth looks up with a dazed expression, quietly addressing the man as his father. He closes his eyes for a moment, trying to make sense of the bewildering situation. Looking down at his tied hands, the feeling of disorientation only grows stronger. His father accuses him of admitting to the murder of his brother in law by staying silent. The youth is shocked, wondering if he really killed a man named Dan Hassan. A memory surfaces of him drinking happily with his friend, recalling that Dan died over 10 years ago. He then remembers standing over his friend's body, but believes he had no motive or ability to do it. He realizes he has returned to the past, to the moment he was framed for his friend's murder. Back in the present moment, kneeling before his father, he can only say that he does not remember. The family head erupts in anger, yelling that his answer is completely unacceptable. His 3 brothers watch with smirks as their father debates killing him to appease the Dan family. One of his brothers suggests they should cripple him and send him over alive for them to handle. The youngest brother then proposes sending Jin to the front lines, citing the Alliance's request for a family member. He argues it is a good way for a life destined to die to be useful, as their father silently considers the idea. The other brothers look pleased, realizing this plan would also spare them from having to go themselves. The front lines mark the border, where the Martial Alliance fought the Blood Demon cult during the Great Blood War. Though the Alliance stopped the cult's invasion, they couldn't reclaim the occupied lands, so they established a watch post. Jin understands this is a perfect excuse for his brothers to dispose of him, using the false accusation as justification. He remains kneeling, convinced that one of his siblings must have orchestrated the entire conspiracy against him. Later that night, he sits alone in a cell, knowing his father's decision is the same as in his past life. Hearing footsteps approach, he strengthens his resolve, thinking that this time he must obtain what he needs. A young woman, Sanwu Yanhwa, appears at his cell, her face etched with worry as she asks if he is okay. Jin reassures her that he is fine and asks about her, and she replies that she believes he is innocent. He remembers that in his previous life, she only cried, so this time he confidently declares that he is not the culprit. The girl is visibly shocked by his unexpectedly firm and clear statement of innocence. She asks why he is so certain, so he calmly explains he had no reason to harm his only friend and her fiancé. He reveals they were face to face when a sword he did not possess was found stuck in his friend's back. After processing this, Yanwo asks why he remained silent and didn't defend himself in front of their father. Jin simply replies that going to the front line seemed like a better choice for him, which only confuses her more. A memory from his childhood flashes through his mind, recalling how he had to survive on his own after his mother died. His excellent memory made him a prodigy, but he was forced to act like a fool to survive among his jealous brothers. But the act became a self-destructive habit, and by the time he realized it, he had truly become a fool to everyone. For 21 years, he was seen as a worthless fool, a shame to his family who was constantly mocked. To change his fate, he must leave the family and meet his hero, Gale Flying Dragon Seolpung, at the front lines. But he notices Yeonwa's attitude has changed. She's not comforting him like she did in the past. He wonders if his own calm demeanor is the reason for her different reaction this time. Just then, he senses another presence and turns around with a thoughtful hum. With a sudden gasp, he realizes who has been silently watching him from the shadows. His father, Sunwoo Jung, stands outside the cell, his expression unreadable. Jin is surprised because his father's presence also feels different from how he remembers it. In his past life, his father would simply sigh and leave after seeing him beg to be set free. But this time, the family head stands his ground and asks his son if he was truly framed for the murder. The young man realizes his father must have overheard his conversation with Yeonwa. The older man admits he always knew Jin was acting foolish on purpose, but didn't know he wanted to leave. He apologizes to his son, blaming himself for letting his life become such a mess. Jin is stunned by this unexpected apology, as his father had always neglected him in the past. He recalls how even his father, the head of the family, was heavily influenced by his in-laws. He realizes that his father's neglect might have been a subtle way of protecting him. Sunwoo Jung then asks if his son has any final requests before he is sent away. Seizing the opportunity, Jin asks for permission to enter the head's private library for just one day. His father is surprised by the request, questioning why he would want to visit the library now. Jin explains that he is ashamed of not knowing his family's martial arts and wants to learn before leaving. He recalls that in his past life, he knew nothing of his family's arts and had to steal techniques from others. If he could learn the Soundwoo 13 swords, he knows he could advance much faster this time. His father scoffs at the idea of learning martial arts in a single day from books alone. Despite his skepticism, the family head closes his eyes and agrees to grant the request. The young man is thrilled but stops, as his father adds a condition to the agreement. The older man states that learning cultivation alone is dangerous, so he will teach him directly. Though surprised, Jin quickly agrees and sits in the lotus position as instructed. His father places his hands on the cell door, declaring he will pass on the primordial infinite arts. He then transfers a glowing energy into Jin's back, while reciting the incantation for him to memorize. The youth is shocked, realizing he is being taught the secret art only the head and hair can learn. He feels a strange sensation, something he should be happy about but that feels slightly off. As his father continues the energy transfer, Jin struggles to understand this unfamiliar feeling. A moment of quiet passes as he processes the unexpected turn of events. Meanwhile, his brothers protest loudly, arguing that their father should not let Jin into the library. Sunwoo Jung calmly replies that it would damage the family's honor if Jin dies without knowing anything. He firmly states that his decision is final, leaving his other sons stunned into silence. Later, Jin stands alone in the vast library, grateful that his request was granted for one day. He clasps his hands with a grin, a mysterious, ghostly figure appearing behind him. The figure asks if one day is truly enough, and the young man confidently replies that it is plenty. His goal is not to learn the arts in a day, but to memorize every single detail with his perfect memory. His photographic memory was once considered a sign of a prodigy, allowing him to survive by mimicking his comrades. Captain Seolpung had even given his special ability a name, calling it the scene memory technique. Now, sitting in the library, he feels confident he can absorb all the information and put it to good use. He begins his study with the primordial infinite arts and the family's ultimate technique, the 13 swords. After cramming countless books into his head, he lies on the floor, completely drained from the effort. He admits to himself that he doesn't understand the 13 swords at all and decides to step out for fresh air. Feeling mentally exhausted, the youth heads outside to take a much-needed break from his intense studies. He collapses onto the grass nearby, wondering if he should just give up for the day. Lying on the ground, he lets out a deep sigh, the mental fatigue weighing heavily on him. He acknowledges that he can't understand most of what he's read, which makes him question his efforts. Suddenly, a familiar mocking voice cuts through the air, wondering what martial arts he could possibly learn. His brothers are walking by with several young women, sneering at his supposed laziness. Among them are two ladies he doesn't recognize, one of whom watches him with quiet curiosity. The group stops and looks down at him from a distance as one of the women asks about his identity. His brother smugly introduces him as the family's shameful younger brother, calling him more of a pig than a human. The young lady is surprised to learn that he is being sent to the front lines the very next day. One brother quickly steps in, urging the esteemed young lady judge not to waste her attention on him. They continue to belittle him in front of the guests, saying he is just a pig going to pay for his crimes. He immediately recognizes the name, realizing she is the famous genius swordsman, Juj Soil. He remembers hearing that she was touring various families to gain experience, which explains her presence. He gets up from the ground as his youngest brother, Ji, approaches him with a sneer. The sibling mockingly asks how his training went and challenges him to demonstrate his newfound skills. Jin tries to brush him off, saying one day of training makes no difference, and he should hurry back. Annoyed by the dismissal, his brother throws a sudden punch, intending to humiliate him. To everyone's surprise, Jin catches the fist effortlessly, a faint purple aura glowing around his hand. The attacker is stunned into silence, completely shocked that his punch was so easily blocked. Jin winces, realizing how weak his current body is if simply blocking a punch causes him pain. The other siblings burst into laughter, taunting Ji for being stopped by a pig and calling his punch slow. Humiliated and enraged, Ji leaps forward, unleashing a more serious and rapid assault. He lands a series of quick strikes on Jin, who appears to be taking the hits without fighting back. The young man grimaces from the flurry of blows, enduring the pain as he is pushed back. But as he watches the movements, he notices that the attack style seems strangely familiar. A flash of insight hits him as he recognizes the pattern in his brother's martial arts. He is certain that this is the Sanwo family's unique fighting style in action. Jai continues his relentless attack, unknowingly demonstrating the Gale 13 strikes. A wide, excited grin spreads across Jin's face as he realizes the opportunity, exclaiming that this is good. The attacker stops in confusion, bewildered by his brother's bizarre and happy reaction. Jin quickly backtracks, saying he misspoke, then taunts his brother to hurry up and attack more. The onlookers find this hilarious, mocking Ji by saying his attacks must feel good to his target. Driven by pure rage, Ji screams and launches himself forward again, while Jin laughs, ready for more. The real-life demonstration helps him finally understand the movements he couldn't grasp from the manual alone. He recognizes the technique as Gale-breaking wave, which uses fists and leads to target weak points. But he notices his brother isn't executing the moves correctly, leaving a clear opening in his defense. With a surge of glowing pink energy, Jin strikes his brother's chest, hitting the exposed weak point perfectly. Jai stumbles backward, coughing up blood from the unexpected and powerful counterattack. Jin takes a deep breath and quickly jumps back to create distance, his own body atching from the brief exchange. The oldest brother scoffs, dismissing the victory as dumb luck, and challenges Jin to show them the technique again. The young man realizes he is too exhausted to continue and can't risk exposing his current physical limits. The female genius, Juj Seoil, speaks up, calling the brother's behavior disappointing. Flustered, the eldest brother quickly tries to save face, claiming he was just about to check on his injured sibling. As his brothers help the fallen Ji, Jin reflects on how pathetic it is to have been beaten by them for so long. With their pride wounded, the group helps their injured brother up and walks away in defeat. Once they are gone, Jin collapses to the ground in relief, knowing he needs to improve his body's condition. Lying on the grass, he closes his eyes, completely spent from the fight and the intense day of studying. He is startled when he opens his eyes and finds his father standing over him, looking down with a neutral expression. The youth scrambles to sit up, stammering an explanation for his seemingly lazy behavior. But his father simply tells him he worked hard and did well, offering a rare and gentle smile of approval. Jin is left speechless, touched by the unexpected words of praise from his usually distant father. The family head then reveals that of his 4 marriages, only one was by his own choice. He admits that while he once believed everything he did was for the family, he is no longer so sure. He asks if his son read the manual for the Sanwu 13 swords, and Jin confirms that he did. The family head then says he's going to practice swordsmanship, and tells his son to rest before going back inside. He draws his sword, a serious and focused expression on his face, as he prepares to demonstrate the forms. With swift and powerful movements, he gracefully executes the family's legendary sword techniques. Jin watches in awe, recognizing the fluid and deadly dance as the Sanwu 13 swords. The head of the family repeats the forms over and over, from the first to the 13th, each time faster than the last. With a surge of glowing energy, he performs the techniques with incredible power and precision. The young man realizes with a jolt of gratitude that his father is personally demonstrating the forms, just for him. Back in the library, he sits among piles of books, now able to cross-reference the manuals with his fresh memory. He reads through his ancestors' diaries but finds that while they left insights, he still can't fully understand the art. He sets down a stack of books, admitting that even the basic forms are difficult to comprehend completely. As he picks up another book, he notices something strange about its cover. Pausing to take a closer look, he realizes that one side of the book's cover is significantly thicker than the other. Carefully, he pries open the thick cover, suspecting something might be hidden inside. As expected, he finds a folded piece of parchment concealed within the book's binding. He unfolds the hidden paper and discovers it contains an explanation of additional forms. As he examines the document, he finds detailed illustrations of a 14th form. Turning the paper over, he is stunned to find instructions for a 15th form as well. A look of dawning realization crosses his face as he stares at the hidden techniques. Later that night, the family estate is quiet, with lights glowing softly from within the buildings. In her room, Sanwu Yahenhwa sits at her vanity, quietly arranging her hair while looking at her reflection. She lets out a soft sigh, her mind drifting back to the events that unfolded earlier in the day. Her thoughts turn to the visiting genius, Judge Seoyul, and the commotion she caused among her brothers. She recalls seeing her own family members fawning over the famous guest from Heaven's Gift, Sword Peak. Back in the present, she runs her hands through her hair in frustration, wishing she were a little stronger. Her maids enter, gossiping about how the 4th master was beaten up and injured by the 3rd young master. One of the maids adds that he was trying to show off for Lady Juge, and fainted right in front of her. The maids burst into laughter at the humiliating story, but they are quickly silenced by a sudden movement. Yanhwa stands up, her eyes glowing with a menacing red light as she asks them to repeat what they just said. Terrified by her sudden change in demeanor, the maids nervously confirm that the story is true. She is utterly shocked and furious, unable to believe that Jin would dare to harm their brother. Meanwhile, Juge Soil receives a document from her companion, containing information on Sanwu Jin. The genius swordswoman thanks her friend, promising to pay her back for buying the information. Her companion asks why she is so interested in the fat young master, and Judge admits she was shocked by his physique. The blue-haired girl agrees, noting how his eyes were just slits buried in fat while clutching a teddy bear. The teddy bear she holds seems to let out a puff of air, as if mimicking a snicker. Juge playfully suggests her friend is only interested because Jin resembles the treasured doll she always carries. But her companion explains that the move he used wasn't ordinary, which made her curious about his past. The genius acknowledges her friend's keen insight, but wonders why she'd bother with someone so physically weak. She muses that if even their own master couldn't understand her friend's curiosity, she has no hope of figuring it out. The genius swordswoman finds it fascinating that her companion can read with her hair covering her eyes. The blue-haired girl simply states that since she can see the letters, she can read them. Juge thoughtfully considers her friend's unusual hairstyle and wonders if she should suggest a change, but her companion teases that she might get jealous if Juge received any more attention than she already does. Juge laughs, saying she is glad to have a friend who is not interested in the spotlight. The girl replies that she feels the same, appreciating that Juge is not like a typical member of her famous family. The next morning, Jin prepares to leave for the front lines, with his father and sister there to see him off. The family head tells his son to stay healthy and to bring honor to their name during his time away. Jin bows respectfully, promising that he will definitely honor the family and return to see them again. He then turns to thank his sister for coming out so early, but she says it is only natural for such a long journey. Yanhwa then holds out a carefully wrapped package for him to take on his trip. He takes the bundle and asks what is inside, and she explains that she prepared some rice balls for him to eat. He asks if she made them herself, and she confirms it, though she admits she cannot guarantee the taste. The young man smiles warmly, thanking her and saying he will enjoy them, calling her the only one he has. With his farewell said, he mounts his horse, ready to begin his journey to the front lines. His father and sister watch silently as he and his escorts ride out of the family estate. Sometime later, the group makes its way through a dense forest path, heading toward their destination. Suddenly, Jin pulls on the reins, bringing his horse to an abrupt halt and surprising the guards behind him. One of the men asks about the sudden stop, but Jin simply states that it is not yet time to rest. He observes the group's leader, Jang Gang Song, noticing the man seems worried he might cause trouble. The young man calmly announces to the stunned escorts that he intends to run the rest of the way to Yunnan. He clarifies that he is doing this not only for training, but also as a way to lose weight. The guards are incredulous, reminding him of the long distance and his current physical condition. The leader sighs, understanding his determination, but worrying about the losses they will incur due to the contract. Seeing their hesitation, Jin asks the leader what he thinks of the horse he was given for the journey. The man agrees that it is a very fine horse, but he is unsure of what the youth is getting at. Jin then offers to give the valuable horse to the escorts, which leaves the leader momentarily speechless. The other guards immediately start whispering, realizing that a horse like that would be worth a significant amount. He had expected them to try and take advantage, but their greed is still a bit disappointing to see. The leader, however, sighs and decides to be honest with the young master. He explains that for a horse of that quality, the price would be far too much for them to accept as a simple fee. Surprised by this unexpected honesty, Jin apologizes for misjudging the warrior and praises his character. The man awkwardly tries to downplay the compliment, admitting he is well aware of the horse's high value. He adds that he is also worried his own resolve might weaken if he were to keep such a fine animal for himself. Jin proposes they think of it as a mutually beneficial exchange, asking for some conveniences in return for the horse. The leader looks at the young master with new respect, realizing he is completely different from the rumors. He agrees to the terms, shaking Jin's hand and promising that they will do their best to accommodate him. And so, his long run began, a journey that would take 3 days by horse but much longer on foot. He knows the grueling task will be difficult, but he is confident it will be the nourishment for his rebirth. With grim determination, he vows that in this life, he will be different no matter what it takes. The journey quickly proves to be too much for his unfit body, and he soon gets sick from the exertion. His escorts rush to his side, worried he might be trying to find an excuse to avoid going to the front lines. But he brushes off their concerns, wipes his mouth, and declares that he has rested enough and is ready to go. A short while later, he is lying flat on his back on the ground, completely exhausted, with the escorts watching. The men can't believe how difficult running seems to be for him as they stand around with their horses. He hasn't even lasted 30 minutes, and now he feels too weak to move a single finger. He feels a cloth gently wiping the sweat from his face and looks up in confusion. A young woman with blue hair offers him a handkerchief, telling him to wipe his sweat. He is startled to see her, recognizing her as young lady Chiang, Yan, and feeling embarrassed by his state. The girl is surprised he knows her name, so he explains that his memory allowed him to recall it from the day before. She tells him to keep the handkerchief, as she has several more, and places it in his hand as he holds the cloth to his face. He is unsure how to react to her unexpected kindness. She then offers a small smile and some words of encouragement, saying she will be cheering for him. The young woman turns and walks away, leaving him and the escorts to continue their journey. The guards are amazed and envious that he received a handkerchief from such a lovely young lady. He feels a swell of pride, even though he suspects her kindness wasn't meant in a romantic way. Feeling re-energized by the encouragement, he jumps to his feet and rallies the men to continue their run. But his renewed enthusiasm is short-lived, and he soon collapses again, getting sick once more. Seeing his state, the men decide it's a good time to stop and eat before they continue. He drools at the thought of food, realizing that he will be eating outdoors quite a lot on this trip. Later that evening, the group sets up a campfire in the woods, preparing their meal for the night. Jin approaches the men and asks if he could have some of their food as well. The leader agrees, but curiously asks why he isn't eating the meal his sister prepared for him. With a dismissive laugh, he bluntly states that his sister's cooking is not fit for human consumption. The men erupt in laughter, agreeing that it would be unfair if a beautiful lady from a prestigious family could also cook well. One of the guards jokes about his bluntness, but Jin's smile fades as a sudden realization dawns on him. He clenches his fist, a dark expression on his face as he processes a new, unsettling thought. In the distance, he imagines small animals and birds that might have eaten the discarded rice balls. The scene in his mind turns grim as the creatures lie lifeless on the ground, confirming his fears. He remembers how his sister, Yanhwa, acted differently this time compared to his past life. In his previous life, she was his only family, and he found comfort in her worried eyes. But now he recalls the inexplicable hatred and contempt that he had once dismissed as his imagination. He finally understands that his foolish past self had failed to see the truth right in front of him. From the very beginning, his sister was never on his side, and she may have even been involved in his friend's murder. He feels a pang of loss, realizing that just as he gained his father's trust, he has now lost his sister. Standing up with renewed purpose, he tells the men he is ready to continue their training. With a polite smile, he asks if he could borrow one of their blades for his practice. The rest of the journey became a continuous and grueling training session for the young man. He ran while they traveled, swung his blade while they rested, and pushed himself to his absolute limits. He even practiced his cultivation methods with less sleep, determined not to waste a single moment. He knows the front lines are a death trap, so he has no choice but to push himself to the absolute limit. The leader of his escort group admits that he has never seen someone train as fiercely as the young master. He confesses that at first, he didn't think Jin would last long, but now he feels ashamed of his initial judgment. The young man just smiles, explaining that he is simply struggling because he doesn't want to die. Suddenly, he stumbles and falls to the ground, a wave of dizziness washing over him from the intense training. The escorts immediately draw their weapons, sensing danger and demanding to know who is there. A group of rough-looking men emerges from the trees, mocking them for expecting etiquette in a fight. They are surrounded by a large group of bandits, who order them to drop their weapons and surrender. The leader of the bandits, a large man with a double-sided axe, threatens to split their heads in two. The escort leader is shocked, recognizing the man as Makgu, Sam, the infamous leader of the Green Tiger Gang. He quickly whispers to Jin, telling him to take the horse and run if a fight breaks out. Jin remembers hearing about the bandit leader, who is known for being a properly trained martial artist. The escort leader steps forward and respectfully greets the bandit, acknowledging his reputation. He offers to pay a toll, hoping to resolve the situation peacefully through dialogue instead of violence. The bandit leader agrees that a toll sounds good, then declares their toll is everything they own. As his men laugh, the escort leader desperately urges Jin to get on the horse and escape, But the young man stands his ground, angrily demanding to know how they dare attack the third son of the Sanwoo family. The bandit leader looks him over, surprised to learn he is from such a prestigious family. The bandit leader simply scoffs, unimpressed by the family name and clearly not intimidated. With a confident stance, Jin and his escorts prepare for the inevitable confrontation with the Green Tiger Gang. The bandit leader accuses him of trying to deceive them, but Jin nervously insists he is from the Sanwoo family. To prove his identity, he pulls out a golden family medallion, showing it as proof of his lineage. The leader demands that he throw the medallion over for inspection, refusing to get any closer. One of the escorts warns him not to get close, fearing it's a trap, but the bandit threatens to attack if they don't comply. Jin reluctantly agrees to throw it, but he insists that the bandit must return it after he has verified its authenticity. He tosses the medallion through the air, and the bandit leader reaches out to catch it. The man catches the golden object, a look of triumph on his face as he prepares to inspect it. But as he glances down, Jin lunges forward with incredible speed, his sword drawn and ready to strike. He unleashes a powerful attack, catching the bandit leader completely off guard by the sudden ambush. The bandit leader gasps in pain as the blade cuts into him, unable to react in time. His men and the escorts watch in stunned silence as their leader is wounded in the blink of an eye. Realizing it's a trap, the bandits quickly draw their own swords and rush forward to attack. But Jin is ready for them, his hands steady on the hilt of his sword as he prepares for the fight. He meets their charge head-on, deflecting their attacks with a calm and focused expression. With a flurry of swift and precise movements, he cuts through the charging bandits with ease. His blade glows with a faint pink aura as he carves a path of destruction through the enemy ranks. The escort leader, seeing their young master in action, rallies his men to charge in and support him. The remaining bandits, terrified by his overwhelming skill, begin to panic and try to flee. He stands victorious, his back to the fleeing men, a sense of rightness washing over him. He grips his blood-stained sword, feeling his body and soul finally in sync after so long. He feels a deep sense of satisfaction, rejoicing in the familiar atmosphere of the battlefield. He stands among the fallen bandits, the only one left standing besides his astonished escorts. But the moment the adrenaline fades, he collapses to the ground, utterly exhausted from the fight. His escorts rush to his side, looking down at him with a mix of awe and concern. The leader asks if he is a rejuvenated elder, unable to believe a young master could possess such skill. Jin laughs off the question, pointing out that no rejuvenated elder would collapse from exhaustion after one fight. The leader agrees but notes that it is still impressive for someone so young to kill without hesitation. He adds that it is even stranger to see him resting so comfortably in a place filled with bodies. He then mentions seeing his sword glow, wondering if it could have been the legendary sword Kai. The men are amazed to learn that he used the famous Sanwoo 13 swords, a prestigious phantom sword technique. The leader is impressed by the power of a second-rate technique from such a well-known family. He feels ashamed of his own 20 years of accumulated energy, so Jin asks what cultivation method he uses. The man admits he only knows the 6 harmonies cultivation method, as it was all he could get. Jin recognizes it as a common, third-rate method that can be easily found in any marketplace. He then surprises the man by saying that building 20 years of energy with such a basic method is actually quite impressive. The leader calls for his men to get going, his expression a mix of embarrassment and renewed determination. Jin watches them, seeing a reflection of his past self in a man whose efforts haven't paid off due to a lack of resources. The men lead their horses, their respect for the young master having grown immensely after the battle. The young warrior sits in quiet contemplation, a new plan forming in his mind as they prepare to leave. After days of continuous running and training, the group finally arrives at the entrance to Yunnan province. Finally, after 9 long days of travel, the group arrives at a proper inn, much to everyone's relief. Jin generously offers to pay for a round of drinks, celebrating their last day together as a group. The men cheer, praising him for his generosity and reaffirming their belief in him. He smiles, happy to share a final meal with the men who have accompanied him on his difficult journey. Later, they are all sitting around a table, sharing drinks and stories from their travels. One of the warriors mentions that he plans to return home to his wife and children after this job is finished. Another man teases him, saying that wandering warriors shouldn't have families to tie them down. As they are joking, the innkeeper announces the arrival of a beautiful young lady. Jin and the others turn to see who it is, and one of the men recognizes her from their journey. The young lady Cheong Yin walks into the inn, her expression calm and composed as always. She glances around the room, her eyes briefly meeting those of the men at the table. The escort immediately recognizes her as the kind lady who offered Jin a handkerchief on the road. One of the men nudges Jin, excitedly pointing out that young lady Cheong Yin has arrived. He stands up and waves enthusiastically, calling out to her and remarking on the coincidence of their meeting. He eagerly invites her to join them at their table, clearing a space for her to sit. He then laughs nervously, realizing she has already taken a seat before he even finished his invitation. The men welcome her warmly, offering her a drink and asking if she would like to order some food. She politely declines the food for now, her expression thoughtful, as she seems to consider something. Then, to everyone's surprise, she announces that she is also thinking of volunteering for the front lines. Jin is completely stunned by her statement, unable to believe what he has just heard. The young lady covers her mouth, trying to find the right words to explain her sudden decision. Jin finds it hard to believe, knowing that even renowned warriors are reluctant to go to such a dangerous place. He asks her directly why she would want to volunteer for the front lines, but she remains silent. Changing the subject, he notes that she seems to have lost a lot of weight since they last met. He laughs and explains that it's because he has been training, and she agrees that he has become quite slim. One of the escorts chimes in, praising the young master for his incredible hard work during their journey. He adds that since losing weight, the young master has become quite handsome, and Jin proudly agrees. The young lady then excuses herself, saying she needs to step out for a moment, and leaves the table. She walks away from the group, her expression unreadable, as she heads toward a quieter part of the inn. The men at the table resume their cheerful conversation, inviting Jin to have another drink. He happily accepts, enjoying the camaraderie and the brief moment of relaxation after their long journey. Alone in a quiet clearing outside, the young lady lets out a sigh of relief, finally able to be by herself. She quietly admits to herself that she found the young master's slimmed-down appearance to be quite cute. His new look reminded her of her treasured doll, a small teddy bear she calls Dumpling. She recalls the impressive move he used against the bandits, and the intriguing details she learned about his past. All of these things had stimulated her curiosity, drawing her to him in a way she hadn't expected. She also remembers his waddling appearance, and his almost unrealistic lack of stamina. She felt she couldn't just leave him to be killed by the demons of the blood cult. It was her duty, as a witness to his hidden cuteness, to protect him from the dangers ahead. That was the real reason she had followed him all the way to this inn. But she struggles to find the right way to tell him. She decides that since he is no longer weak, there is no reason for her to go to the front lines anymore. With her mind made up, she plans to head back home the next day, her mission to protect him now complete. But as she is walking through the woods, a sudden noise startles her, and she lets out a terrified scream. She draws a thin, like sword, her body tense as she frantically calls out for help. An unseen force rushes past her, and she falls to the ground, wondering what kind of monster it could be. A massive, shadowy figure with a red aura looms over her, its muscular form promising a deadly fight. The creature attacks with incredible speed, and she realizes with a jolt of fear that it has no intention of defending itself. Seeing an opening, she tightens her grip on her sword, preparing to end the fight with a single, decisive strike. She unleashes a powerful flurry of slashes, her blade glowing with a bright blue energy as it cuts through the air. To her utter shock, the creature easily deflects her attack with its bare hands, completely unharmed. The shadowy figure leaps into the air, its body radiating a dark and menacing energy as it prepares to strike. It lands a powerful blow, sending her flying backward with a cry of pain. The creature then unleashes a strange, expanding energy wave, forcing her to brace for the impact. She manages to block the attack, but the force of the blow still sends her skidding across the ground. As the dust settles, she looks up in disbelief, wondering what kind of monster she is facing. The creature's shadowy form dissipates, revealing a muscular man with a strange, stitched-up mouth. He lets out a primal scream and charges forward again, his eyes glowing with a menacing red light. She readies her glowing blue sword, preparing to meet his ferocious assault with her own power. She unleashes a series of rapid slashes, but the man easily parries each one with his bare hands. She is completely stunned, her arm trembling from the force of his blocks, unable to comprehend his immense power. Suddenly, one of the escorts who had been standing guard rushes back, shouting about the commotion. He tries to intervene, but the muscular man grabs the young lady, using her as a shield. The guard's sword shatters against the creature's incredibly tough skin, the impact jarring his arm. He stares at his broken blade in disbelief, stunned by the man's unnatural durability. The creature then brutally attacks the escort, who is now defenseless against the powerful assault. It grabs the young lady from behind, its massive hand covering her mouth to stifle her screams. With a cruel grip, it forces her to watch as it prepares to finish off the fallen guard. The creature lets out a sinister laugh, its eyes glowing with a terrifying red light as it savors the moment. The young lady watches in horror, her eyes wide with fear as she is held captive by the monster. Just as the creature is about to strike, a flash of light cuts through the air, hitting it directly in the chest. The powerful blow sends the creature stumbling backward, its head snapping back from the force of the impact. Jin and the other escorts arrive just in time, and he rushes to the young lady's side to see if she is okay. One of the men cries out in anguish, seeing that his fellow escort, Yanga, has been killed in the fight. Jin tells everyone to get back inside the inn, but the men are hesitant to leave their fallen comrade behind. The creature lets out another enraged scream and charges toward the group with renewed ferocity. Jin quickly pulls the young lady behind him, shielding her from the monster's relentless attack. He meets the creature's charge head-on, their blades clashing in a shower of sparks and red energy. He shouts for everyone to get back inside the inn, his expression grim as he recognizes the formidable enemy. The young lady, still in shock, looks at her torn sleeve, a grim reminder of how close she came to death. She stares at the monster with a mix of fear and confusion, trying to comprehend the nightmarish situation. The young lady looks on with wide-eyed terror, completely frozen by the sudden and brutal attack. The monster attacks with a powerful red slash, but Jin quickly moves to shield the young lady from the blow. It lets out a furious roar, its muscular body glowing with a dark and menacing energy. Jin pulls the girl down to the ground, covering her mouth and gesturing for her to remain completely silent. The creature looms over them, its dark aura pulsing as it slowly scans the immediate area. He then notices that the strange man has been keeping his eyes closed this entire time. The young lady realizes with dawning horror that the monster's vision must be severely impaired. She clings to him in fear, asking if he is all right, as the creature stands menacingly nearby. A wide, terrifying grin spreads across the monster's face, its stitched mouth stretching open. It suddenly turns and rushes back toward the inn, and Jin realizes the other people are in grave danger. Inside, the inn is in complete chaos as the monster attacks, and a child has been caught in the fight. One of the escorts lies dead on the floor as the patrons scream in terror, calling it a monster. Jin and the girl watch in horror as the creature targets another one of his men. The monster rampages through the room, cutting down anyone who stands in its path. It grabs a guard's sword with its bare hands, and the man stares in shock, wondering where it came from. The terrified guard trembles, pleading for his life as the creature's grip tightens. Just as the monster raises its hand for a final blow, Jin leaps forward to intervene. He blocks the attack, sending the guard flying backward to safety while confronting the creature directly. The escort leader tells him to retreat, but Jin shouts for everyone to be quiet, standing his ground. The other guards panic, with one calling for the authorities while another cries out to be saved. The young warrior knows this is a terrible situation and that they must silence the monster somehow. The creature declares that no one will survive the night as it crouches among the wreckage. The escort leader watches in terror, realizing the monster is preparing to attack them again. In a desperate move, Jin suddenly runs across the room, letting out a loud cry to draw its attention. He quickly grabs the edge of a large tablecloth, pulling it with all his might. With a powerful heave, he flips the entire table, sending dishes crashing to the floor with a loud noise. Enraged by the sound, the monster whips its head around and screams for everyone to be quiet. Now that he has its full attention, Jin stands ready, facing the creature in the middle of the room. His escorts watch nervously, unsure of what the young master is planning to do. The young lady watches the scene unfold, her expression a mix of concern and curiosity. Jin stands beside a small stool, his gaze fixed on his blind and powerful opponent. He places his hand firmly on the wooden seat, gauging its weight and position. With a swift kick, he sends the stool sliding across the floor in the opposite direction. The monster immediately turns its head, its senses tracking the sound of the moving stool. The escort leader quickly covers his companion's mouth, understanding the need for absolute silence. The panicked man struggles for a moment, his eyes wide with fear, before realizing the plan. Jin looks around desperately, searching for another object he can use to create a distraction. Suddenly, the young lady leaps high into the air, her body glowing with a brilliant blue aura. She lands a powerful kick directly on the side of the monster's head, the impact echoing through the inn. After delivering the blow, she gracefully flips away, creating distance from the stunned creature. She lands in a low crouch on the floor, her eyes fixed on her opponent as she prepares for its reaction. The young lady rushes forward, her eyes filled with a fierce and unwavering determination. She unleashes a series of rapid slashes, her glowing blade moving too fast for the creature to block. As she fights, she yells at Jin, urging him to quickly explain the situation to the others. He shouts that the monster only identifies people by sound, telling everyone to be completely silent. The terrified escorts immediately cover their mouths, trying their best not to even breathe too loudly. Jin knows that simply staying quiet will not be enough to defeat such a powerful enemy. He warns that if the creature cannot hear, it will start using its sense of smell to hunt them down. To counter this, he needs to act first, and finds a way to properly draw the monster's attention. He spots a bowl filled with strings of coins, realizing it is the perfect tool for his plan. He knows he must act quickly while the creature is still distracted by the young lady's assault. She looks over in surprise, momentarily confused by what the young warrior is doing. He holds a bottle of alcohol and some food, putting a finger to his lips to signal for her silence. The scene is a tense standoff, with the young lady keeping the monster occupied as Jin prepares his trap. His plan is to first get the creature's attention by using the sound of the coins. He throws the strings of coins, expecting the simultaneous sounds to confuse the monster and immobilize it. While it is disoriented by the noise, he will then have a chance to approach it undetected. As the coins clatter, the monster stops and turns, trying to pinpoint the source of the sound. An escort watches in shock as a piece of pottery shatters on the floor nearby from the commotion. The plan works perfectly, and Jin manages to get right behind the distracted creature without a sound. He knows he cannot afford to make a single mistake, as one touch from the monster would be fatal. He carefully places his hands on the creature's neck, holding his breath as he gets into position. But at that critical moment, a loud hiccup escapes from his mouth, shattering the tense silence. The sound echoes through the room, and even one of the terrified escorts hiccups in a panic. The monster's ear twitches as it instantly hones in on the sudden noise, its body tensing. It slowly turns its head to face him, and the young warrior freezes, his eyes wide with sheer terror. His heart pounds in his chest as he realizes his carefully laid plan has just gone horribly wrong. The creature leans in close, sniffing the air as it begins to use its nose to pinpoint his exact location. Frozen in place, the young warrior stares as the monster leans in, its stitched mouth inches from his face. His heart pounds in his chest, realizing his crucial mistake has put him in mortal danger. The creature's eyes remain closed as it inhales deeply, trying to pinpoint his exact location by scent. The escorts can only watch in horror, completely paralyzed with fear as the hulking figure looms over their young master. But the young lady refuses to stand by, her expression hardening as she prepares to intervene. With a burst of speed, she charges forward, her glowing blade aimed directly at the distracted monster. He knows he is trapped with no escape and must act now or die. In a desperate life or death gamble, he moves his hands from its neck to its face. He forces the monster's eyelids open, revealing its bloodshot, unseeing eyes in a sudden, jarring move. The creature lets out a deafening scream of pain and surprise, stunning the young lady who watches in disbelief. He then drives his head forward, landing a powerful headbutt directly on the monster's face. As it stumbles back, he climbs onto its shoulders and forces its mouth open, aiming for its only vulnerability. She immediately understands his plan. The monster's body is impenetrable, but the inside of its mouth is not. Knowing this is their only chance, she tightens her grip on her sword, preparing to strike. A brilliant blue aura erupts around her as she channels her energy into her blade for a decisive blow. She leaps high into the air, positioning herself directly above the restrained creature. With all her strength, she plunges her glowing sword straight down into the monster's open mouth. The blade pierces through its flesh, exiting from the back of its neck in a fatal strike. She struggles to hold the hilt, the force of the impact jarring her body as the creature thrashes. In a final, desperate act, the monster's hands reach up to grab the blade lodged deep within its throat. He moves to her side, placing his hands over hers on the hilt of the sword embedded in the creature. With combined strength, they both push down, driving the blade deeper to finish the job. The monster's hand, which was clawing at the blade, finally goes limp and thuds onto the floor. With the creature finally dead beneath them, the chaotic battle comes to an abrupt and silent end. They remain there for a moment, catching their breath in the aftermath of the intense fight. The surviving escorts can only watch, their faces a mixture of shock, relief, and awe. By the next morning, a serene light breaks over the distant mountains, signaling a new day. Two of the surviving escorts kneel on the ground, their heads bowed in grief for their fallen comrades. In the courtyard, the bodies of the dead are lined up, covered respectfully with white cloths. The three remaining guards stand by, their expressions somber as they mourn their loss. One of the escorts turns his head, noticing the young warrior approaching them. The man asks if he is leaving now, and the youth confirms, explaining he needs to hurry. The escort leader sincerely wishes him safe travels and the best of luck on his journey ahead. Shaking his hand, the young man returns the sentiment, wishing them health and success in their plans. He then mentions he originally prepared 5 volumes of something, but will only be giving out 3. From within his robes, he produces a small stack of 3 bound books tied together. The escort leader is confused, but the youth explained is a cultivation technique better than their current one. His eyes widen in shock as he hears it's the legendary preservation heart method. The young man adds that he also included a few sword forms he knows, noting they should help. He silently recalls that this valuable method was obtained for him by Seal Pung in his past life. He remembers how this technique allowed him to reach 60 years of internal ki in under a decade, a truly first-rate method. The escort leader is stunned, asking why he would do all this for them, and how they could ever repay such a great deed. The young man smiles, stating they fought for their lives together, making them friends, and the books are no longer of use to him anyway. Holding the books, the leader looks at him with deep gratitude and offers a sincere thank you on behalf of his men. Announcing that he must go, the youth turns to leave, explaining any more delay will cost him a full day of travel. He hopes they meet again as first-rate martial artists, and the escort vows to achieve that level and visit him to celebrate. As the two walk away from the inn, the 3 remaining guards watch them depart in respectful silence. While they walk, the young lady comments that he is a peculiar man, as she has never seen a martial artist give techniques to outsiders. He replies with a smile that it does not matter, since the techniques are not secrets of the Sanwu clan. His tone turns serious as he asks if she truly intends to go to the front lines, warning her of the countless monsters and the danger. She looks toward the mountains, saying she has thought about it and believes it is the right thing for her to do. She recalls the brutal fight from the night before, explaining that countless monsters like that exist at the front. This means people are fighting for their lives against such creatures at this very moment, a reality she cannot ignore by going home. She states firmly that she did not learn martial arts to live a sheltered life, and her father always taught her to stand proud. Turning to him, she asks if he views her as just a lady or as a fellow martial artist. He clenches his fist, realizing he senses no hesitation in her words, and that he had wrongly seen her as an immature girl. With a formal salute, he admits he has misjudged her profound conviction and offers his deepest apology. The young lady smiles, accepting his apology, and noting that he is a man who truly knows how to admit his mistakes. He returns the gesture with a faint smile, a moment of mutual respect passing between the 2 warriors. They finally arrive at their destination, the Great Blummen Cult battlefield in Yunnan, a place known as Zhonglang. In the forest, a man gasps in pain as a blade pierces his stomach from behind, held by a sinister, smiling attacker. A woman cries out as she is taken hostage, seeing her companion dead on the ground while a cultist mocks the fallen man. It is a full-scale ambush by the blood demon cult's twin Sai the Seven Misfortunes, who emerge from the trees to surround their prey. The leader, G-Mac, holds a woman captive, sneering as he asks if the dead man was her lover, promising she will soon forget him. His brother, Gu Yajil, grabs another woman, crudely commenting on her appearance before G-Mac tells him to focus. Amidst the chaos, a bright red flare shoots into the sky, a desperate signal for reinforcements. One of the cult members spots the signal being launched by a fleeing woman in the distance. Another cultist notices the flare, warning his comrades that they will be facing trouble soon. Their leader orders them to capture one more woman before they retreat, and the group leaps down from the trees to attack. On the ground, a squad of female warriors quickly forms a defensive formation, their swords drawn and ready for battle. A cultist attacks with a powerful Sai the Swing, which is met by a warrior's blade in a shower of sparks. The women fight hard, telling each other to hang on, because their squad leader will be there soon. One of the warriors struggles, her sword straining to block the heavy, curved blade of an enemy's weapon. Jayamak laughs, mocking their efforts as he asks if they really think their meager defense is enough to stop him. The female warriors are heavily outnumbered, parrying attacks from all sides as the cultists press their assault. The woman leading the defense breathes heavily, her face showing the immense strain of the desperate battle. Suddenly, the cult leader's mocking expression vanishes as he looks up, sensing a new presence. A lone figure soars through the air high above the forest canopy, heading directly for the battlefield. This is Mai Yujime, the fourth squad leader of the 13 Soaring Dragon Corps, known as the Diankang Hawk. The embattled warriors see him arrive, their faces lighting up with relief, as they joyfully shout that their squad leader is here. The cult leader panics at the squad leader's arrival, but quickly orders his men to handle the others while he fights the newcomer. Wielding his twin scythes, the man confidently prepares to face the formidable Diankang Hawk alone. The squad leader descends with incredible speed, unleashing a powerful attack that the cultist barely manages to evade. He watches as his purple energy narrowly misses its target, his gaze remaining fixed on his opponent. Their weapons finally meet in a deafening clash, the impact sending a powerful shockwave through the air. The cultist is visibly surprised, his face contorting from the sheer force behind the squad leader's strike. With another swift and powerful swing, the hawk sends his opponent flying backward, crashing hard onto the ground. The man digs his scythes into the earth to stop his momentum, quickly regaining his footing for the next exchange. Just then, one of his subordinates cries out, warning him that another powerful opponent has arrived on the scene. A woman appears on a tree branch above, identified as Tang Yeoun from the Tang clan's Sword Peak. She looks down at the chaotic scene below with a calm and composed expression, ready to join the fight. The cult leader grits his teeth in frustration, realizing the situation has just become far more dangerous. Taking advantage of the momentary distraction, the squad leader lunges forward to press his attack. Their blades clash once more, locking the two warriors in a fierce, high-speed duel. The Diankang Hawk's expression is one of pure focus as he continues his relentless assault. Their fight is a blur of motion, with steel and energy clashing repeatedly across the battlefield. The cult leader grabs a hostage, ordering his brother to capture their main target and retreat while he holds the line. Following their leader's command, the remaining cultists leap toward the woman from the Tang clan. She watches them approach with an unfazed expression, seemingly unimpressed by their numbers. But instead of fighting, she gracefully leaps away into the trees, forcing them to give chase. She leads the cultists on a chase through the forest, drawing them deeper into the winding path. A confident smirk plays on her lips, revealing that this retreat is all part of a larger plan. One of the cultists struggles to keep up, burdened by the unconscious woman he carries on his shoulder. His eyes narrow with determination as he forces himself to push forward, refusing to fall behind. Suddenly, a warrior drops from the trees, launching a surprise attack on the man carrying the hostage. Her glowing green blade slices cleanly through the cultist's side, forcing him to drop his captive. He lets out a cry of pain, stumbling from the unexpected and debilitating blow. The warrior catches her fallen comrade, reassuring her that she will unlock her Kai flow soon. The cult leader is stunned, recognizing another powerful opponent as the Diankang dragon Sagunal. As more warriors descend from the sky, he screams in fury, realizing they have walked right into a trap. The woman from the Tang clan mockingly asks if the foolish demonic leaders have only just noticed. She immediately engages another cultist, her sword clashing against his side with incredible force. The wounded leader curses at her, while his subordinate warns him to look up at the new arrivals. They watch in horror as their men on the path below are completely surrounded by the dragon corpse. A calm and imposing figure appears among them, the 13th Soaring Dragon Corps captain, Feng Yang. The captain attacks without hesitation, unleashing a massive, overwhelming wave of red energy from his sword. The cultist brother screams the captain's name in terror as the powerful attack engulfs him completely. Elsewhere, the vice squad leader lands safely on a tree branch, having rescued her fellow warrior. She looks down at the battlefield, where the cultists are being systematically taken down by her allies. Captain Feng Yang stands poised, his single powerful strike having turned the tide of the entire battle. Another warrior effortlessly cuts through the demonic cultists, his blade glowing with a brilliant golden energy. He is Han Josung, the first squad leader, who dryly comments that they woke him from a pleasant dream. The cult leader's face drains of color as he recognizes the legendary Azure Gust Sword Dragon. His brother urges him to run, and the leader reluctantly retreats, vowing that he will not forget this defeat. But Sagunal appears in their path, coldly informing them that they are not going anywhere and will meet their end here. The cult leader desperately tries to escape as the Diankang dragon leaps through the air to intercept him. Sagunal's blade slashes the man's arm, but the wounded leader grits his teeth and continues to flee, screaming threats. The remaining members of the Seven Misfortunes follow their leader, disappearing into the dense forest. In the quiet aftermath, Captain Feng Yang stands beside Han Josung as the sound of sobbing fills the air. A warrior weeps over the body of his fallen comrade, crying out his name in grief and begging him to wake up. At that moment, squad leader Ma Yujayim arrives with another man, asking what has happened. Without warning, he grabs the newcomer by the collar, furiously demanding to know why he, Seal Peng, arrived so late. He shouts that if Seal Peng had been on time, they could have defeated at least one more of the Seven Misfortunes. Seal Peng looks down with a heavy heart, apologizing and explaining that his own squad was also ambushed. Yujayim snaps, calling him an irresponsible bastard, and saying a lowly soldier should never have been made a leader. A female warrior steps between them, telling the 4th squad leader to stop, and that she will not tolerate insults toward her leader. She explains that the 7th squad fought 5 cunning spirits and a hidden spider spirit, losing 2 members in the process. Yujayim remembers that spider spirits are dangerous demonic creatures that grow stronger by absorbing the essence of people. The vice squad leader reminds him that such creatures must be slain immediately upon discovery, a fact he is well aware of. He scoffs dismissively but falls silent, the tension between him and the exhausted Seal Peng remaining thick in the air. The vice leader angrily confronts Yujayim, demanding that he immediately apologize to her squad leader. Seal Peng tells her to stop, gently reminding her that Yujayim also just lost a squad member, but she retorts that they did as well. He simply smiles, trying to reassure his subordinate that he is okay, and she does not need to defend him. She looks down in silence, her expression filled with concern and frustration over how her leader is being treated. The woman from the Tang clan bluntly tells Seal Peng that his soft nature is the reason Yujayim walks all over him, making things harder on his squad. He can only laugh nervously in response, while she sighs with her arms crossed, clearly exasperated by his passive attitude. Sagunal steps intermediate, placing a hand on Seal Peng's shoulder and apologizing for Yujayim. Seal Peng says he understands. Han Josung turns to the captain, asking if the new recruits are supposed to arrive that day. The captain walks away, stating it will take time for them to be useful, but their arrival is a relief nonetheless. Meanwhile, the young warrior from the inn finally arrives, silently hoping the new recruits will manage to survive for a while. The story moves to the Yunnan Blood Demon Cult Front's second headquarters, a large and imposing structure under a clear sky. Inside, an official leads a small group into a waiting room, informing them that the vice commander will arrive soon. A lone girl waits separately. A young man with long hair observes the girl, thinking she must be the last person to enlist. He muses that some things never change. His companion addresses him as young master, asking if the 13th squad is so young because all the veteran warriors have died. The young master confirms this seems to be the case, adding that the entire Flying Dragon Corps is getting younger, not just the 13th squad. He recalls from a past life that the 13th squad was always the youngest, with only its commander and vice commander being older warriors. His companion is shocked by this, realizing the squad is mostly filled with young people who are forcibly conscripted. At that moment, the girl who was waiting alone approaches them, asking why veteran warriors do not volunteer to join. The young master explains it's because there is no fame or profit to be gained, a concept that seems to confuse the girl. He elaborates that events on the front lines are kept secret. Achievements and deaths go unrecognized, leaving only danger without honor. Their conversation is suddenly cut short when an older man clears his throat to get their attention. The man introduces himself as Hyun Bo, the vice commander of the 13th squad of the Flying Dragon Corps. He confidently assumes they have heard of him, while the young master silently thinks it is good to see the man and decides to play along. However, the young master's female companion bluntly says she has never heard of him and asks if he was famous. The vice commander dismisses her, claiming many masters are forgotten due to secrecy oaths, and that she simply lacks knowledge. The girl continues to press him, saying she knows most peak-level masters and directly asking if he is one of them. The vice commander's face begins to twitch, clearly irritated by her relentless and challenging questions. Nearby, the young master tries to hide his laughter, thinking she has hit the man's weak spot. The older man clenches his fist in frustration. Annoyed, the vice commander quickly changes the subject, stating they must hurry to assign squads and gather the captains. He then unrolls a scroll and begins to read, calling out the first name, Soundwoo Jin, the third son of the Soundwoo family. The vice commander's tone softens, acknowledging the importance of the Soundwoo family name as he glances at the young master. He then continues reading the list, calling for Cheon Juan, the daughter of Cheon Ga Sang, one of the Guzo Four masters. The pink-haired girl who had questioned him earlier seems startled, recognizing the Guzo Four masters as an evil faction. The young master glances at her, thinking it is indeed strange for a member of an evil faction to volunteer for the Martial Alliance. The vice commander turns his attention to the blue-haired girl, asking if she is from the evil faction since her file lists no family or school. The young master internally notes this is incorrect. He remembers Lady Joj calling her Cheong Yain, but her true identity is something else. The blue-haired girl simply confirms that her name is Cheong Yain, her expression calm and unwavering. The official then declares that people with unclear identities are forbidden from volunteering for the front lines. Soundwoo Jin finds this statement absurd, since the identity of the 7th Squad's own Captain Seolpung is a complete mystery. The vice commander argues that his squad, the 13th, has strict rules, and no exceptions are allowed. He gives the girl a choice: either reveal her family and school immediately, or apply to a different Flying Dragon Corps. At that moment, the young master intervenes, explaining that Cheong Yain is a close friend of Lady Juj Soil of Heaven's Gift, Sword Peak. The vice commander's face pales as he hears she is connected to the precious daughter of the Martial Alliance's military strategist. Stuttering, he asks why a lady of her status would come to the front. The young master casually says he does not know her reasons. He then adds with a laugh that it is likely related to high-ranking members of the Alliance, hinting that it's above the vice commander's pay grade. The vice commander's face twitches with annoyance, realizing he has been completely outplayed and cannot refuse her now. After the tense meeting, the newly assigned members are guided out of the main building and toward their barracks. They arrive at a large, well-maintained building, which their guide introduces as the barracks for the 7th Squad. The young master looks at the structure with a heavy heart, murmuring that it looks exactly as he remembers it. He thinks back on the past 7 years, recalling the mix of happy and tragic moments he experienced within those very walls. He feels relieved that all his companions were assigned to the 7th squad, hoping to avoid the 4th at all costs. The man guiding them warns that some squad members will try to haze the newcomers and hopes he will not get too hurt. The young master then recalls the cruel insults from his past, when he was called a disgrace and told to get lost. He remembers others telling him that even looking at his face was unlucky, and he questions if that could be considered mere hazing. Although he eventually endured it, the painful memory of being ostracized to the point of wanting to die still lingers. Walking down the familiar corridor, he reflects on how the thought of living here again brings back those difficult memories. The guide finally leads him to a room, opening the door to reveal the current members of the 7th squad. 2 members greet him warmly. One of them jokes that the newcomer's build suggests he eats as much as him. However, a different group of men smirks from across the room, mockingly asking if a pig has just arrived. They continue their taunts, saying they did not expect a proper newcomer, considering who their captain is. Sound Woo Jin thinks their current reaction is much more acceptable than in the past, glad that he decided to lose weight. His guide formally introduces him as young Master Sanwoo Jin, the 3rd son of the prestigious Sanwoo family of Gizzo. The 3 men who were just mocking him now look surprised upon hearing the name of such a well-known family. They quickly recognize him as the infamous 3rd son, known for being a cripple who was beaten by his own sibling. One of them sneers that it must have been hard for a pig to lose so much weight. Hearing these insults, the guide's expression hardens, his eyes filled with silent anger at their behavior. The 2 friendlier squad members also appear tense and shocked by the cruelty of their squad mates' words. But despite the harsh taunts, the young master simply smiles, completely unfazed by their attempts to provoke him. He calmly approaches the leader of the bullies, greets him by his full name, Hamu Jin, and extends his hand. The bully is stunned that the newcomer knows who he is. Sanwoo Jin confirms it and immediately challenges him to a fight. Before Hamu Jin can react, Sanwoo Jin grabs him by the wrist, pulling him off balance. Without hesitation, he lands a powerful punch directly into the bully's stomach, the force of the blow echoing through the room. The impact sends Hamu Jin flying backward, but the young warrior maintains his grip, refusing to let go. Twisting his opponent's wrist, he uses the man's momentum to swing him around in a wide arc. He spins Hamu Jin through the air with incredible speed and strength, showcasing his surprising power. The young master then slams the bully headfirst into the wooden wall, the impact cracking the surface. Hamu Jin collapses to the floor, his eyes rolling back in his head, completely knocked out from the sudden and brutal attack. One of his stunned friends nervously asks Sanwoo Jin what he is doing, terrified by the display of violence. The young master just smiles, asking what he is doing and reminding the man that they were the ones who called him a cripple. Enraged, the other bully clenches his fists and calls the young man a bastard, ready to retaliate. Sanwoo Jin simply stares back, thinking this should be enough of an example. He considers beating up the other bullies too. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps interrupts the tense standoff, drawing everyone's attention to the doorway. A new figure enters the room, and the young master immediately recognizes the voice of the newcomer. A smile spreads across his face as he realizes the real boss of the squad has finally appeared. A man with green hair and a stern expression stands in the doorway, demanding to know what is going on. He looks down at the newcomer and the unconscious man on the floor, his gaze sharp and questioning. The green-haired man repeats his question, his voice calm but firm, clearly in a position of authority. Sanwoo Jin maintains his cheerful demeanor, inwardly acknowledging that the situation has just escalated. He cracks his knuckles, preparing himself for the next confrontation that is about to unfold. He greets the newcomer as senior, introduces himself, and explains that he has just joined the 7th squad. He cheerfully explains that they called him a pig and a cripple, so he simply returned their friendliness in kind. The green-haired man introduces himself as Ju Tae, Jiang of the Point Spear sect, his tone serious and unamused. The young master realizes that, just as he expected, Ju Tae, Jiang is not picking a fight due to his pride in his sect. He knows that Ju Tae Jiang, also known as the Point Spear Sword Viper, is a disciple from one of the 9 great sects. However, this pride also made him a toxic presence in the squad, unable to accept being under an unknown captain and always causing trouble. Sanwoo Jin clenches his fist, remembering his first love who died because of this man. He vows it will not happen again. For now, he knows he is too weak to handle Jutae Gyeong, who is likely at a mid-first-rate martial level. He decides there is no need to rush and turns to his guide, asking if they should all have dinner to introduce themselves. Jutae Gyeong grits his teeth in annoyance at being ignored, clearly not used to being treated with such casual disrespect. Seonwoo Jin simply glances back at him, thinking that the man is a bastard, yet his plan is already in motion. He turns to Jutae Gyeong with a smile, saying he remembers him now and has heard rumors about the Point Spear Sword Viper. Hearing the nickname Jutae, Gyeong's expression darkens, and he places his hand on the hilt of his sword. The young master feigns innocence, asking if Point Spear Sword Viper is not his nickname, pretending that is what he understood. Enraged, Jutae Gyeong draws his sword, telling the newcomer that he researched carelessly and will now die for it. Salpung, the guide, quickly steps in, asking Jutae Gyeong what he is doing. The enraged warrior orders him to step aside. Seolpung tries to de-escalate the situation, suggesting the newcomer simply does not know any better and asking for forgiveness. He smiles calmly, trying to reason with his agitated squad mate, but his expression is firm. He warns Jutae Gyeong that if he does not put the sword down, he will be crossing a line. Jutae Gyeong scoffs, asking if Seolpung will really stop him from punishing a second-rate warrior who deceived a first-rate one. At that moment, Sanwoo Jin waves his hand with a laugh, cheerfully apologizing and admitting that he was rude. He adds that a first-rate warrior was acting carelessly towards their peak-level captain, so he assumed Jutae Gyeong would not mind. The 2 friendly squad members burst out laughing, exclaiming that a real big shot has just joined their ranks. Sanwoo Jin continues to taunt him, saying it will be hard for Jutae Gyeong to ever catch up to the captain's level. The green-haired warrior's face darkens with rage as the newcomer's words hit their mark, asking if he will take responsibility for his claims. The young man simply smiles and asks what Jutae Gyeong will do if he can indeed back up his words. The proud warrior gives him a 3-month deadline, declaring that if the newcomer proves his claim, he will take his life as payment. Sanwoo Jin agrees, but asks what he will get if he wins. The other man scoffs, saying he will just die too. The young man dismisses this idea, saying they cannot let a precious comrade who is supposed to fight demons die so needlessly. Instead, he proposes that if he wins, Jutae Gyeong will have to treat him as his older brother from that day forward. The proud warrior grits his teeth, clearly humiliated and enraged by the absurd and disrespectful condition. Despite his anger, he accepts the challenge, vowing to grant the newcomer's wish in 3 months. Jutae Gyeong then turns to Seolpung, asking if he will also try to stop this duel, which he brought upon himself. He leans in close to the young master, telling him to struggle all he wants, because he will make him regret his words. As Jutae Gyeong storms out of the room, he tosses a small, round object over his shoulder before leaving. The rest of the squad, including the bullies and the friendly members, quickly follows him out, eager to see what happens next. The 2 men who initially welcomed the newcomer laugh, saying how refreshing it is to see someone stand up to Jutae Gyeong. Sanwoo Jin knows that Baisa Young is a disciple of a secret sect that fell due to a past tragedy involving Jutae Gyeong's sect. The other man laughs, saying he liked the newcomer from the moment he saw him and felt they would get along well. Sanwoo Jin is surrounded by Baisa Young and Bai Jongwan, remembering them as the close friends who died saving him in his past life. With tears in his eyes, he makes a silent vow that in this life, he will absolutely not let them die. Selpung approaches, asking if he will be all right and warning him that Jutae Gyeong is not to be taken lightly. The young master just smiles and asks the captain to train him, declaring that he is prepared to be worked to death. He adds that since he is just a squad member now, the older captain should feel free to speak comfortably with him. The captain agrees with a smirk, warning the young man that since he asked for it, he will be worked until he wishes he were dead. Baise Young warns him that he does not know what he is asking for, explaining that the captain's training is for peak-level masters. The young man smiles, thinking that he has already done it before. This time, he plans to share the good thing with his friends. He then turns to Baisa, young and playfully questions his confidence, saying he seemed like a real man at first glance. Provoked, Baisa, Young shouts that there is no way he lacks confidence, claiming to be sure of himself in everything. He strikes a confident pose and declares that he will gladly join the training to prove his words. The muscular man, Beijong Guan, laughs and says he would like to join too, but he already has a grand dream of his own. He explains his goal is to crush demons with external martial arts trained to the extreme, leaving no time for other pursuits. Sanwoo Jin's eyes light up with excitement, and he asks the senior if he could teach him those amazing external martial arts. The big man is caught off guard, blushing as he stammers and asks if the newcomer is serious about learning from him. Sao Peng reminds him that during the squad selection, Sanwoo Jin mentioned wanting to see whose skin was harder, his or a demon's. Hearing this, Beijong Guan gets even more excited. The young master leans in, admitting it was a lie, but he does have a goal. He enthusiastically describes his dream of flying like a cannonball with a hardened body-to-body, slam and shatter demons. Beijong Guan looks mesmerized, imagining himself flying through the air to smash demons into pieces with his body. The young master continues, saying that if he could achieve that, people would give him cool nicknames like Iron God Matir. Beijong Guan repeats the names to himself, his eyes wide with excitement and a blush spreading across his face. Sanwoo Jin smiles to himself, knowing his friend is completely hooked on the idea now. A simple but effective trap. The following day, the training begins deep within a lush, green forest. Captain Selpeng leads the small group of new recruits, including the young master and his two friends, along a winding path. Baisa Young, wearing a weighted vest, proudly declares that this level of training is nothing for a disciple of his sect. Standing beside him, Sanwoo Jin thinks that since he has already experienced this training, it should be a piece of cake. He confidently leaps onto a tree branch, telling his friends it is nothing much, and that he will go on ahead. However, as soon as his foot touches the branch, it snaps under his weight, and he lets out a cry of surprise. Beijong Guan, perched on a branch above, calls out in concern, asking if his new friend is all right. The young master crashes to the forest floor, landing hard on his back with the broken branch on top of him. Lying on the ground, he realizes with a groan that he did this training in his past life only after he had lost weight. A month passes, and the early morning light filters through the dense canopy of the forest. A hand, covered in dirt and trembling with exhaustion, grips the edge of a deep pit. Baisa Young hauls himself out, looking completely drained and worn out from the grueling training. It is revealed that in the past, after fleeing his fallen sect, he found himself in the same squad as a disciple from the Point Spear sect. The chief disciple of a secret sect was now in the same group as someone from the sect that caused his own downfall. He had not expected much when he revealed his origins, knowing it would be hard for a second-rate warrior to get an apology. He had hoped for at least some sign of guilt, but Ju Tae Zhang simply asked him, "So what?" The arrogant disciple then mocked him, asking if he was proud that his sect's elders died from their own greedy ambitions. Enraged, Baisa Young lost his composure and attacked, but the outcome of the fight was painfully obvious from the start. After that day, his life did not change much. He was still too weak to defeat even a single demon, let alone his arrogant squad mate. With his sect's internal cultivation method lost, he was left with no way to grow stronger. He felt powerless in an unfair world, his hands scarred from useless effort, but he refused to be pitied as a weakling. He drifted along without a goal, just another face in the squad, until one day everything changed. A seemingly crazy guy, Sanwoo Jin, joined the 7th squad with a wide, confident smile. This newcomer, who was only at a second-rate level and did not look like a martial artist, clashed with Ju Tae Zhang from day one. For some reason, this seemingly insane behavior was incredibly refreshing to the jaded Baisa Young. He ended up falling for the newcomer's provocation, pretending to be annoyed while secretly eager to join the intense training. But the very next day, lying exhausted on the ground, he realized he had made a huge mistake and was going to die. He groans in regret, thinking that if he had just kept his mouth shut, he would not be suffering like this. Meanwhile, Captain Seolpung effortlessly leaps through the treetops, his movements light and swift despite the weighted vest. Baisa, Young grits his teeth, frustrated that after a month, he can still barely keep up with the captain's pace. He pushes himself to his feet, determined not to give up, no matter how much it hurts. A cheerful voice calls out to him, breaking his concentration and making him look up in surprise. Soundwoo Jin, somehow full of energy, playfully asks if he is already frustrated after just a short time. He then laughs and says that at this rate, Baisa, Young might catch up to him soon, a clear taunt. The exhausted disciple glares at him, thinking he absolutely cannot lose to this guy, who is at the same level but carrying more weight. He is even more frustrated that the newcomer is learning his sect's secret movement technique so quickly. Just 3 days after the training started, Soundwoo Jin had approached him asking for help. In exchange, he had offered to teach him an internal cultivation method, recognizing the value of the secret movement technique. Fueled by this newfound rivalry, he pushes off the branch with renewed determination. He vows that he will not lose to that bastard, his eyes blazing with competitive fire. The squad's daily routine is intense. After the dawn sprint, they practice energy circulation, breath regulation, and weapons training. After their meal, the 3 men gather to practice external martial arts, pushing their bodies to the limit. In the evenings, the squad members take turns sparring with each other, honing their combat skills in friendly matches. The next day, the grueling cycle repeats, leaving them utterly exhausted but growing stronger. After another day of training, Sanwoo Jin and Bei Jong Guan return, greeted by the captain who notes their late arrival. A female squad member praises the young master, saying he is amazing for being better than he was yesterday. He laughs it off, saying it is nothing compared to the captain's strength, humbly deflecting the compliment. He then recalls young lady Nasio, Yu from his past life, who warmly embraced him when everyone else called him a pig. That was when he fell in love with her, even though he could never confess his feelings or prevent her tragic death. He clears his throat, pleased that everything is going smoothly. Thanks to the influence of the 2 young ladies, the squad is focused. Both Cheom Yan and the pink-haired girl meditate peacefully, fully dedicated to their training. Cheong Yan even surprised everyone by asking to join the external martial arts training, her competitive spirit shining through. As he trains, the young master's growth rate is incomparable to his past life, thanks to the primordial infinite arts. Baisa Young is also making incredible progress, with the new cultivation method giving him wings. Bei Jong Guan is learning the Diamond Indestructible sect's cultivation method, balancing his internal and external training. This sect, focused on achieving true indestructibility, trains both the body and the mind in perfect harmony. However, the young master reveals that there is no such sect. He actually gave his friend a Shaolin cultivation method and embellished the story. He sits beside his friend, meditating peacefully, thinking that as long as the motivation and results are good. 2 months pass, and the squad meditates in a clearing. The young master knows a major incident is about to happen. He recalls that in his past life, around 50 liver ghosts suddenly attacked, overwhelming their forces. The flying dragon corpse, accustomed to fighting only a few at a time, suffered a catastrophe where an entire squad was annihilated. Though he does not know the exact cause, he remembers that from that incident onward, the situation at the front rapidly worsened. But with his current status, he can neither warn anyone about the future nor prepare for it himself. He sits in meditation, feeling an immense sense of frustration knowing what is coming but being powerless to stop it. Elsewhere in the forest, a different squad captain practices his sword skills with incredible speed and precision. He complains about his popularity with insects as he effortlessly slices through a swarm of them. He wishes he were popular with women instead, swatting at the bugs that buzz around his face. With a frustrated grunt, he grits his teeth, annoyed by the persistent and unwelcome attention from the insects. He unleashes a flurry of sword strikes, his movements a blur as he cuts through the air with deadly accuracy. Every slash is precise, a testament to his exceptional skill as he continues his relentless practice. The swarm of insects falls to the ground, each one perfectly sliced in half by his masterful swordplay. His squad members watch in awe, praising his amazing 70, two-way sword rain dance technique, a basic skill for his sect. They marvel at their captain's skill, wondering how much more amazing the first squad captain, a renowned genius, must be. They compare their captain, nicknamed Swift Chaos Monkey, to the first squad captain, the Clear Wind Sword Dragon, and laugh. Their captain yells at them to be quiet, furiously denying that he has no humanity for reaching peak level in his 20s. One of the female members teases him, suggesting he should try dating the vice captain if he likes her so much. The captain shouts that he is not interested in the vice captain either, getting flustered by their endless teasing. Suddenly, his expression turns serious as he senses something approaching. He orders his squad to form a defensive formation, warning them that a large number of enemies are approaching. As they prepare for battle, one of his subordinates nervously notes that there seem to be far too many enemies. A massive horde of grotesque red-eyed liver ghosts emerges from the trees, charging toward them with terrifying speed. The captain immediately engages the creatures, shouting for his vice captain to send a signal for reinforcements. He cuts down several of the monsters with a single, powerful slash, his expression grim and focused. But as he fights, he notices something that makes him pause in shock and disbelief. He curses as he realizes the creatures are far more numerous and powerful than he anticipated, and he orders everyone to retreat. At that moment, 3 powerful blasts of energy erupt in the distance, signaling the presence of at least 3 mid-level demons. Warriors run desperately through the forest, trying to escape the overwhelming horde of monsters pursuing them. One of the squad members turns to face a charging ghost fiend, preparing to hold it off. The creature is relentlessly focused on its target, swinging a powerful clawed hand without hesitation. With sweat dripping down his face, the young man raises his sword to defend against the fierce attack. He manages to dodge the main blow, but the creature's arm still grazes him, tearing his sleeve. Before he can counter, the fiend catches his sword blade with its bare hand, stopping the weapon cold. The creature's glowing eyes fix on him, revealing the usual tactic is a 2-person feint. As the fiend is distracted, another warrior approaches from behind, ready to land a decisive blow. He drives his sword forward, aiming for the creature's unguarded back, while its attention is elsewhere. However, his confident expression quickly turns to one of pure shock and disbelief. The creature, without even looking back, has caught his sword hilt with its other hand, halting his attack. The warrior looks around in horror, realizing that more ghost fiends have now surrounded him. This is the first time the 6th squad has ever faced such a large number of these monsters. The standard tactics are failing, forcing each member to fight 2 or more ghost fiends alone. The captain shouts in frustration as the chaos spreads, his comrades being quickly overwhelmed. The squad's formation breaks completely, and cries for help echo through the dark woods. The creatures are brutal and efficient, falling upon any warrior who gets separated from the group. The captain desperately yells for his men to pull themselves together and hold their ground. His face is tense with grim determination as he tries to prevent the complete annihilation of his squad. As he focuses on the enemies in front, another fiend with glowing eyes lunges at him from behind. The creature's face contorts into a twisted grin as it closes in for the final blow. The captain looks back in shock, realizing his mistake too late as the monster attacks. He manages to block with his sword, but the battlefield is grim, with his comrades being overrun. Letting his sword fall from his grasp, he decides to rely on his fists instead. He pivots and throws a powerful punch, striking the creature squarely in the face. With fierce determination, he continues his assault, ignoring the other monsters around him. He lands another solid blow, sending the fiend reeling backward from the unexpected force. The captain follows through with a final, devastating punch that connects with the monster's jaw. Standing over the defeated creature, he takes a moment to catch his breath before facing the rest. The impact of his attack was so great that it sent several other nearby fiends stumbling back. He quickly realizes that the number of enemies is still far too great for his squad to handle. Determined to create an opening, he lets out a powerful shout, ready to make a final stand. At that moment, 2 warriors descend from the trees, shouting their attack names as they charge in. Elsewhere, Nasoyu and her companions stand with their swords drawn, watching the chaos unfold. Their eyes are fixed on a single figure who is fearlessly charging straight into the horde. The three women look on with expressions of pure shock, unable to believe what they are seeing. The young master's two friends, however, watch the scene unfold with confident smiles. San Woo Jin is now completely surrounded by the shadowy fiends, but he shows no fear. He quickly grabs one of the creatures. He then starts running, throwing the monsters aside. The captain recognizes the newcomers as the 7th team, realizing their arrival has created a path for retreat. He immediately turns and orders his own squad members to run away at full speed while they have the chance. The captain then urges the 7th team to retreat as well, warning them that the enemy's numbers are simply too much to handle. However, the young master's companion tells the captain not to worry, assuring him that they have a plan. With a wide grin, Baisa Young calls out to his senior brother, telling him that it is now his turn. The green-haired warrior reluctantly takes out a small knife and makes a cut across the palm of his hand. He mutters a curse under his breath, annoyed that he is being forced to go through with this crazy plan. Without any more hesitation, he swiftly approaches one of the unsuspecting ghost fiends. In a flash, he smears his own fresh blood directly onto the creature's face, marking it as a target. He continues this motion, darting through the horde and marking several other monsters with his blood. The scent of blood drives the creatures into a frenzy, and their eyes begin to glow with a menacing red light. With the entire horde now chasing him, he turns and runs while screaming curses at San Woo Jin. Captain Cheong-won sees that he is fast enough to avoid being caught, and his plan seems to be working. He tells his squad that other teams will arrive soon, so they should assist the 6th team and take down a few enemies. Feeling a renewed sense of hope, the captain cracks his knuckles and announces that he will take the lead. He then charges forward into the fray, telling his remaining squad members to follow him closely. A brief memory flashes, showing a powerful martial artist who is surrounded by a serene, glowing aura. San Woo Jin recalls his past life and the great tragedy that unfolded in this very forest. He remembers the powerful warriors who were present at the time. In his past, all he could do was encourage those around him. But in this new timeline, he never gave up on changing the future that he remembered. From the moment he returned, he spent every single day working hard and encouraging his friends. Today, the small changes he made through his layered efforts have finally started to bear fruit. The gap he created was just enough to save his comrades, who now laughed together in relief. The ghost fiend attack, which should have left only the captain as a survivor, ended with minimal casualties. A few days later, a small group of warriors walks through a forest clearing, heading toward a building. Baisa Young complains that even his clothes now smell like the awful medicine. Playfully elbowing his friend, he adds that if not for the ointment, onlookers would have rushed to join their training. San Woo Jin agrees, noting that many people have been watching their external training recently. After hearing Zhang Guan describe how they defeated the demons, they realized their arts were good. But once the onlookers witness the actual grueling training, most of them quickly decide to leave. However, there was one person who was genuinely interested and wanted to overcome the entry barrier. This enthusiastic young man was immediately blocked by his friends, who stopped him from joining. The young master just smiles, admitting that he honestly cannot say the training looks pleasant. At that moment, a group of women walks by, and the onlookers recognize them as members of the Dang family. One of the women, with flowing pink hair, carries herself with an impressive and elegant aura. Another woman, Miss Tang, also draws the attention of everyone present with her striking appearance. Tang Yon's beauty is so captivating that it seems as if the world turns dark and she becomes the only source of light. One of the onlookers admits that while he wants to claim his own Na Sioyo is the fairest, he thinks that to match Tang Yon's looks, one needs to be as handsome as Jagal Sioyo. A man approaches the group and introduces himself as Myong Sayan, the vice leader of the 3rd squad. He admits that until now, he thought they were just wasting their time with their intense training. However, he now realizes their efforts were worthwhile and apologizes for looking down on them. He then whispers to San Woo Jin that he would honestly like to learn some physical training from them. As his squad leader calls for him, he tells the young master that his dear goddess might not be so enthusiastic. He points out that she is quite clingy and possessive, contrary to her looks, before saying goodbye. As the vice leader turns to leave, San Woo-jin calls out his name, causing him to pause. The young master hesitates for a moment, a bead of sweat running down his face as he tries to find the right words. He then changes his mind, simply wishing him well and hoping they can train together next time. Myung Se-yeon is bold enough to openly state he has fallen for Tang Yeon and serves as her vice leader because she is too difficult to approach. He acts as the effective squad leader of the third team. However, the young master recalls that in his past life, this man died at the hands of the very woman he loved. Tang Yeon was forced to kill him after her mind was taken over by the blood cult. Later, he realized she became the woman of Ma Eugyeom, the fourth squad leader. In her final moments, Eugyeom's betrayal drove her into complete and utter despair. San Woo-jin now understands that she was not the cold, perfect woman she appeared to be. Bai Se-young asks if he's also interested in Tang Yeon. He explains that steel spirits will appear soon and he needs her help, but his friend misunderstands. Bai Se-young teasingly asks if he loves her so much he would be satisfied with just a conversation. As the young master looks, his friend shouts that he is in love with Miss Tang. He frantically tries to explain that it is not what it looks like, saying he just needs to talk to her, but has no connections. Na Seo-yu looks on, her expression unreadable as she considers the chaotic scene before her. The young master grits his teeth in frustration, realizing he has been completely misunderstood. That evening, as the sun sets, the squad prepares for their night patrol duty. The squad leader, Seal-pung, holds up his hand to halt their advance. Sensing something in the darkness, he notes that it is a chaotic spirit, and the tension of the night patrol immediately rises. As he steps forward, he explains that the demonic heads of the blood cult are dangerous even for peak masters. Suddenly, a monstrous creature lunges out of the darkness, letting out a terrifying scream as it attacks. But this squad has Seal-pung, who easily dodges the attack and leaps onto the creature's arm. With the situation handled, the squad leader calmly states that there are no more abnormalities. He has one crucial weakness, however, which becomes apparent as the female squad members praise him. He gets flustered by their compliments and awkwardly tells them to be on their way. It is revealed that squad leader Seal-pung has trouble with women, or more accurately, he fears them. The women of his squad smile knowingly, thinking that if it were not for his fear, he would be perfect. San Woo-jin remembers from his past life that the captain only overcame this fear after they lost someone. To prevent that from happening again, he knows he must take care of the one responsible for it. But everything comes back to Jut Jae-young, the arrogant man who constantly undermines the captain. Bai Se-young reminds him that his fight with the green-haired warrior is in just 2 weeks and asks if he can do it. The young master simply smiles and says he's trying his best. The captain then intervenes, speaking of his problem that it's his inner ki and that it takes years to become strong. She points out that San Woo-jin is a strange individual, as his mind has surpassed that of a first-class one. Bai Se-young tells his friend to just let them in on his secret plan, since they are the only ones listening. The young master explains that he has an elixir from his father that will increase his ki by about 10 years. The captain correctly guesses that the elixir must have an issue with its purity, which is why he has not taken it. San Woo-jin confirms this, saying that if he consumed it, about half of his total ki would be external. The female squad members are confused, asking what the men are talking about as they do not understand. Cheung-yan explains that if the external ki in elixirs exceeds half the total, ki deviation is more likely to occur. The young master clarifies that this is why he has been pushing back taking the elixir until the last moment. His original plan was to first gain pure ki using his primordial arts, and then take the elixir safely. However, he now believes that at his current state, he can handle a first-rate opponent. Bai Se-young laughingly admits he had no clue, having never used elixirs before in his life. The pink-haired girl's eyes light up with excitement, and she happily exclaims that they are in the same boat. Her companion blushes and clenches his chest, clearly flustered by her enthusiasm and closeness. Now, Nasoyu mentions that they will be busy for a while with San Woojin's fight and the upcoming meeting. He finds it strange, noting that he has been fighting on the front lines, but has never heard of such events. He remembers that the meeting in his past life occurred in the 13th Corps, and it was oddly peaceful. Baiza Young complains that it sickens him how the vice captain will suck up to his superiors during the meeting. He continues, saying that they will be told to clean everywhere and turn the whole place upside down. San Woojin asks his friend if he finds it strange that the risk of ki deviation is so high. He makes the scroll thinking about how the demonic sect remains alive. Baiza Young pauses for a moment, then thoughtfully agrees that his friend has a very good point. If the members of the blood cult primarily steal the ki of others, it creates a dangerous imbalance. The young master covers his mouth in thought, trying to piece together the puzzle of their power. His eyes narrow as he wonders how they manage to stay alive with such a high risk of QI deviation. Meanwhile, Jut Jiyoung trains intensely in a clearing while a man with long hair watches him. He lets out a powerful shout as he lunges forward, his movements filled with focused intensity. With a swift and precise motion, he thrusts his spear, demonstrating his growing martial skill. His attack is suddenly stopped as the other man, Mayugium, easily catches his foot, praising his progress. The man smiles, saying the green-haired warrior can now undoubtedly call himself an upper first-rate. Jut Jiang thanks him, but is told not to be satisfied with simply not losing to a second-rate opponent. He is ordered to demonstrate overwhelming power befitting his sect, and the proud warrior readily agrees. Ugm watches him, thinking that the newcomer needs to realize what kind of opportunity he threw away. His expression darkens as he vows that San Woojin will pay for having the audacity to refuse him. In a room, someone asks if it's true that inexperienced recruits defeated a chaotic spirit. Our boy then explains that Chiangyan defeated the demon, and he couldn't do anything because he was weak. But the other guy says it was our protagonist who distracted the creature and saved everyone's lives. Our boy. Then he goes on to say that he just followed what he was told to do and pierced the monster's mouth. A woman asks how he knew that spirits were weak against the light, and the young man says it was luck. A man with red eyes thinks like a second-rate warrior would risk his life against a demon. Seeing our hero laugh, the man thinks that he must have done a lot of research since little information is publicly available. With a smile, he decides there's no more room for hesitation, and that it's worthwhile to train our boy. San Woojin explains that knowing about the weakness to light is different from forcing the monster's eyes open. The man with red eyes says he liked the rookie and will take him to the 4th squad. At that very moment, our protagonist desperately shouts that he will not accept the proposal. The other person is completely shocked and speechless by the protagonist's refusal. He then asks if the boy really doesn't want to join his team, and our hero becomes embarrassed. Our protagonist becomes nervous and looks away, unsure how to respond to the man. At that moment he turns around and calls for Captain Seal Pong, who was sitting observing everything. Our hero says he's always wanted to join his squad ever since he researched the front lines and begs to be accepted. With that, the captain of the 7th Squadron is completely shocked and points to himself in disbelief at what he heard. San Woojin explains that he can destroy monsters even with the kai of a sword using only kicks and punches. Then he goes on to say with a smile that ever since he heard that, he knew he needed to learn from the captain. The leader of the 4th squad becomes furious and asks how he dares refuse him to join the 7th squad. He then reminds them that our hero is from the famous Soundwoo clan, but wants to join losers with useless martial arts skills. Hearing the insult against his future companions, our protagonist's fist clenches tightly, but he ignores the provocation and tells Silpong that he wants to learn physical arts to test his body against the demons. Hearing this, the captain stands up and grabs our boy's shoulder, saying that he has a great mentality. He then says he will train him so that his body surpasses that of demons, and our hero enthusiastically accepts. Seeing that he had been completely ignored, the leader of the other squad clenched his teeth in anger. With his arms crossed, the man stares furiously. At another point he recalls the situation, and just the memory of what happened already makes him extremely angry. The man comments to Jae-jung about how well the rookie is doing, and that he should have used his influence to recruit him. He then says that he will make our protagonist pay for the audacity of refusing an offer from the son of the Diankang sect leader. The Diankang leader's son angrily says he will teach the newcomer the power of his sect and leaves. With a smile, Jae-jung agrees and says that they should teach our hero a proper lesson. He thinks to himself that he has no intention whatsoever of letting alive someone who has insulted him, but the rejected leader interrupts him and tells him not to exaggerate or cripple the boy. Jae-jung is shocked by the request and asks if the other wouldn't eliminate a fellow fighter. Stuttering, the man says no, but that they really need to teach the boy a lesson. Then the sect leader's son uses his energy to frighten the boy. He then reminds Jae-jung that their mission is to fight the blood cult and reclaim the mountain. And for this reason they must cooperate even with the scum, so they must not attack a direct comrade. The leader says he trusts that he won't do something so stupid. After all the conversation, the man seems quite irritated. Elsewhere, a woman asks someone to look directly into her eyes. Seeing that San Woo Jin cannot look her in the eye, she concludes that he is not under mind control. Two teammates laugh and say that being controlled might even help him get married. The other boy gets all flustered and shouts that he simply doesn't feel the need to talk to girls. The teammate laughs and asks if he really doesn't feel anything when talking to girls. Then the woman calls the next person in line, and the boy in blue seems quite reluctant to go. They are checking if any of the male members of the squad have been bewitched by any magic. This is because the 10th body had an incident where a member was bewitched and captured. From time to time, some people fall under the influence of the blood cult, and it is a big problem. And the worst part is that they still haven't discovered a way to break the mind control of this cult. The woman then asks the young man to look her in the eyes, and he becomes very nervous at the request. She explains that he needs to maintain eye contact and not just glance at her. With a smile, Captain Sealpong asks what happened to the courage he once had. The boy, blushing deeply, says that this proves he wasn't bewitched and asks her opinion. The woman agrees and says that since he can't look her in the eye, she thinks he's fine. It is possible to tell if someone has been controlled just by looking into their eyes. As the light fades, this task of identifying irregularities is assigned to women like Chiang Yin. Next, the woman announces that it is now Soundwoo's turn to take the test. He blushes but says that if he wanted to, he could do this all day without any problem. One of his companions laughs and wishes him good luck, saying, "Let's see how confident our hero really is." Sanwoo thinks this is a rare chance to look into her eyes and decides to take a good look at her face. He then realizes that she has a compassionate smile and a face that could heal any heart. Just that thought makes Soundwoo blush completely, and he starts smoking. His teammates burst into laughter and ask how a human face can get so red. The woman then says that she doesn't even need to check his eyes, because he seems to be worse than the squad leader. Sanwoo panics and desperately begs her to check his eyes anyway. Seeing his reaction, the woman apologizes for provoking him and tells him not to push himself so hard. But Sanwoo cries comically, because it was his only opportunity to face her as much as he wanted. At that point, one of the boys asks the vice leader if she also checked Chiang Yin's eyes. Sanwoo looks at the others who are talking. Sanwoo thinks he's never seen her face completely, and that she said she has a scar. But even with that excuse, he still feels that the girl is hiding something else from him. The vice leader then reveals that she has already seen her face, and that she has no choice but to hide it. She then explains that if Chiang Yin didn't hide her face, it would cause enormous confusion. Sanwoo is confused as to why the girl with blue hair would need to hide her face. Captain Sealpong then warns that he has heard rumors that it may not be just a spider spirit this time. These creatures are strengthened by blood, and the one they had faced before had already consumed 5 people. Sanwoo then approaches the 2 girls and asks what their plans are for the rest of the day. Upon hearing that they will only be training near the barracks, our Seonwoo lets out a sigh of relief. He then remembers that in his past life the pink-haired girl died around this time. Therefore, He warns the two girls not to go to dangerous places and to stay alert while the leader is far away. With a smile, the girl thanks him for his concern and tells him not to worry about them. At another point, the group is in a courtyard when a woman walks by and catches their attention. Our boy recognizes her as the vice leader of the fourth squad, Mei Yokyung. Apparently, she is one of the important people our protagonist has been keeping under observation. He remembers that in the other timeline, she was eliminated by the spider spirit, and this worries him. The deputy leader mentions that she is looking for a member of her squad named Sun Herring. Our protagonist offers to let the girl know if he finds her, and the woman thanks him for his help. As she walks away, our hero remembers that Sun Herring is Jung's fiancée who passed away. One of the companions explains that Sun Herring has been having problems ever since, and our hero asks about her fiancé. The other boy says that he left to fight the seven misfortunes a little before our boy arrived. Apparently, it's quite common on the front lines to lose a love and then soon find a new interest. Our protagonist becomes thoughtful about the situation and says it's a shame things are like that there. Suddenly he remembers that in a past life the pink-haired girl went to comfort someone in the forest and was attacked. With this memory, he realizes that the person who was comforted was Sun Herring, and the danger is real. Seeing the desperate look on our boy's face, his teammates ask worriedly what's wrong. Our protagonist then says he has a bad feeling and that they need to find Sun Herring now. The three run desperately into the forest, and one of the boys asks if they will be all right alone. The other companion asks if he is afraid, but the boy says that the forest is very dangerous these days. But the other says that they can handle some spirits, and if everything goes wrong, they just run away. With no time to lose, our hero runs through the forest shouting Sun Herring's name without stopping. They then stop on a branch, and our protagonist suggests that they split up to search. At that same instant, a terrifying scream echoed throughout the forest, putting the group on alert. Without thinking twice, our protagonist yells for them to go and runs towards the sound. Running with a determined expression, our boy realizes that something is very wrong. Soon they find a horde of spirits surrounding and attacking a person lying on the forest floor. At that moment, one of the companions uses his indestructible charge and sends the spirits flying with a single blow. Our protagonist also joins the fight and starts punching and kicking the creatures to help his friends. After the commotion, the third boy lands on a branch while the others finish dealing with the monsters. With a look of regret, our hero realizes that they arrived one step too late to save the girl. The three find Sun Herring's body and lament that she would be alive if they had been faster. Our boy wonders how she could have become so ill in such a short time against weak spirits. With a serious look, he approaches the body to investigate. He then notices fang marks on her neck and realizes that the spider spirit has been there. At that same instant, he desperately yells for his friend to move away from the body and get out of the way. Our protagonist then warns that they need to run because the true spider spirit is nearby. With an expression of pure panic, he realizes that the situation is much worse than he imagined. At that moment, the three look up and see a humanoid creature crouching on a tree branch. With a terrifying smile and glazed eyes, the spider spirit stares at them. Our protagonist and his friend are shocked and wonder if that thing is really smiling at them. The creature then lets out a deafening scream that echoes throughout the forest and frightens the group even more. One of the boys realizes the shout was a decoy, and our hero tells them to run south on number 3. He then begins the countdown, and the three prepare to sprint off in a desperate race for their lives. On the third day, they all run as fast as they can to escape the terrifying creature. But the monster leaps from the branch. In an instant, the spider spirit is already on the group's trail. The friend panics and shouts that the creature is too fast and asks what they should do. Our boy thinks that if they split up, 2 will manage to escape, but 1 will surely be left behind, and he knows that the person who would fall behind would be himself, being the slowest of the 3. At that moment, the strongest companion stops, running, and tells the others to flee while he distracts the monster. With a smile, he asks his friends to survive in his place and not die under any circumstances. Our hero is completely shocked because his friend did exactly the same thing in a past life. He remembers his companion telling him to leave, while smiling in the same way. He is smiling now. Our protagonist then clenches his teeth and tells himself to calm down and think logically about the situation. Our hero thinks the spirits have caught up with them, and that there's no way the three of them can get out of there alive. With a smile, he accepts the situation and realizes that a difficult decision is inevitable at that moment. Then he tells his stronger friend that they will leave the lesser spirits for him to deal with alone. But our protagonist turns to the other boy and says that he himself will take care of the spider spirit. The stronger teammate is completely shocked and speechless by our boy's attitude. Then our boy holds his blade, cutting his hand. Then he yells for his friend to run and bring the squad leader before he ends up leaving this place. The horde of spirits then advances with terrifying grins. The stronger friend tries to defend himself, but is soon surrounded on all sides by the creatures. Even in trouble, he yells for his companion to run and save our protagonist at all costs. Seeing his friends sacrificing themselves, the boy cannot hold back tears of despair and sadness. He then runs and shouts that they dare not die, for he will follow them to hell if necessary. Our hero calls him an idiot and says he will never forgive him if he leaves for such a silly reason. With his sword gleaming purple, our protagonist prepares to face the spider spirit. The spider spirit pounces furiously toward San-Woo Jin, who waits with his sword gleaming. With a battle cry, the young man unleashes his purple energy, bracing for the monster's imminent attack. San-Woo Jin delivers multiple energy slashes that trap the creature in a web of purple cuts. The monster looks surprised and in pain as the energy attacks hit it squarely all over its body. Seizing the opportunity, our hero leaps over the spider spirit as it tumbles to the ground. The creature lets out a terrifying shriek, showing its fury and pain after being struck. Our hero explains that brute force is pointless against his illusionary sword style, which isn't based on martial arts. But the monster quickly recovers and lands firmly on a nearby tree branch. The spider spirit glares at the young man, who is now on another branch, and seems confused about what just happened. The protagonist worries that if the monster loses interest in him, it will go after his friend, Jongwon. He thinks his friend won't last long on his own, as the spirits are numerous and cunning. So, to prevent the worst from happening, he jumps toward the creature and taunts it to keep it from attacking his partner. The taunt works, and the spider spirit turns its face toward the boy with an expression of pure rage. The monster strikes with a powerful punch, and although the young man manages to block it, the impact is still immense. San-Woo Jin is pushed back, but holds his ground as the creature prepares for another strike. The spirit lunges forward, trying to grab him, while in the background, another similar monster watches the fight intently. Our hero mentally thanks Seyoung for the technique and hopes he brings backup in time. The creature lets out another deafening scream as the two continue their deadly clash in the forest. Meanwhile, Jongwon is in a tight spot, getting grabbed and pinned down by the smaller spirits. He struggles to break free, but the monsters give him no slack and continue their relentless assault. Jongwon manages to break free from the smaller spirits, throwing powerful punches and pushing the creatures away. But he's already sweating and looks exhausted from fighting so many enemies at once. San-Woo Jin notices his friend is running out of steam, and he himself isn't sure how much longer he can last. He doubts he can survive until Seyoung brings the squad leader, as the situation is looking pretty dire. The protagonist thinks that the monster is strong and his sword can't pierce it, but its eyes and mouth are weak spots. He feels the pressure, knowing he has no opening to use his sword, and that if he gets caught, it's all over. The guy grumbles that he'd rather take on a chaotic spirit at night than this creature in broad daylight. Suddenly, thinking about the chaotic night spirit and the daytime spider spirit gives him an idea. He remembers hearing about a rocky mountain near this forest, and this could be his chance. With a determined look, he decides he's going to risk it all on this gamble, as it might be his only way out. So he starts running through the forest, closely pursued by the spider spirit and its smaller minions. To get an edge, he uses one of the smaller spirits as a springboard, vaulting over it with agility. The creature lets out a cry as our hero glares back at it, ready to continue his strategic escape. Without hesitation, he runs his sword through the monster, clearing a path through the horde chasing him. With a focused expression, he prepares for the next step of his risky plan to survive. One of the spirits screams as the larger spider creature closes in from behind, ready to strike. The spider spirit attacks one of the smaller spirits with a spinning blow, showing off its brutal strength. After clearing the obstacle, the monster glares at the protagonist, who dares it to try again. We see our hero fighting against several spirits at once, wielding his sword with masterful skill. The spider spirit lunges forward once more with its sharp claws. The smaller spirits attack in a swarm, but the protagonist defends himself with agile movements of his sword. With a precise strike, he hits one of the monsters in the shoulder while preparing for the next attack. Our hero glances back with a serious look, maintaining his combat stance with his sword in hand. Suddenly, he throws a sharp object that hits another spirit further away dead-on. Seeing its minions being defeated, the main spider creature lets out a terrifying shriek of pure fury. In a spinning motion, our protagonist takes out several of the smaller spirits that had surrounded him. He then runs toward a rocky mountain and throws a few rocks to divert the monster's attention. His plan leads him to the entrance of a dark, deep cave that seems to be the perfect spot. The young man runs into the darkness as the spider creature follows, screaming without hesitation. He goes deeper and deeper into the cave, running away from the light of the entrance and the monster's line of sight. Finally, in the pitch black, he stops and turns around with a confident smirk, waiting for his pursuer. The darkness in the cave is nearly absolute, and the monster's screams echo off the stone walls. Our hero explains that chaotic spirits are active at night, while these spider types operate during the day. This means the spider spirit relies heavily on its sight to hunt and fight effectively. But now that they're in total darkness, the creature will have to rely on its sense of smell to try and locate him. The monster screams desperately, now unable to see its target and completely lost. The protagonist can't see anything either and knows the situation is dangerous for both of them. He then calms himself and remembers his leader's training to focus and sharpen his senses. With a bloodied hand, he concentrates, trying to feel any movement from the monster in the darkness. He knows he only gets one shot and will wait for the exact moment the creature lunges to make his move. He focuses, telling himself not to be hasty and that he needs to sense the monster's location. He then calms his mind and tries to feel the flow of energy in the area to predict the creature's next move. With that, he lets a few drops of his blood fall to the ground to act as bait for the spider spirit. His eyes gleam with determination as he waits for the perfect moment to execute his risky plan. The instant the monster moves, he yells, "Now's my chance," and readies his sword, which glows with a blue light. With a swift and precise motion, he lunges forward and delivers a powerful strike into the total darkness of the cave. The attack lands a direct hit, and the spider spirit lets out a deafening scream of pain. The creature continues to shriek, and our hero, relieved, realizes his plan worked perfectly. He then breaks into a smile of pure relief, but also exhaustion. After all the tension of the fight, the young man clenches his fist, still feeling the adrenaline from the battle. He just fought against the monster, but he knows it's no time to relax and starts running out of the cave to help his friend. Outside, Jongwon is still fighting bravely against the smaller spirits that surround him on all sides. He looks surprised as one of the spirits approaches and braces for the impact of the attack. Just then, Jongwon hears his name and sees San Woo Jin running toward him to help in the battle. With a huge smile on his face, our protagonist shouts to his friend that they need to head back now. Suddenly, the other friend who went for help shows up and starts chewing them out for staying behind. He says he's just really glad they're alive, and the three of them hug, relieved to be reunited. Then, the three of them notice someone else arriving and look up to see who it is. It's the squad leader, Seal Pong, who has finally arrived on the scene with a serious expression on his face. He praises our hero, saying it was impressive that he managed to hit the monster, especially for a rookie. The protagonist looks serious and says he has something to ask the squad leader right then and there. He asks the leader to keep it a secret that he defeated the monster, as he doesn't want to attract attention. The leader warns him that he won't get any credit or fame that way, but the young man smiles and says that's fine. With a satisfied grin, he states that just surviving alongside his comrades is enough for him. Later, we see the protagonist walking alone through a dark forest at night. Suddenly, he seems to be in a nightmare and cries out desperately for his leader, Seal Pung. His eye is wide with terror as sweat drips down his face, showing his utter despair. In the dream, he finds himself alone in a dark clearing, sensing that something terrible is about to happen. He looks up with an expression of pure horror, as if reliving a major trauma. The nightmare scene is one of pure destruction, with fire and chaos everywhere, and silhouettes of people falling. We see the body of an injured person amidst the flames, revealing the tragedy he's reliving. The person's face is revealed, and she's smiling despite being gravely injured in the middle of the fire. San Woo-jin wakes up, gasping and utterly horrified by the nightmare he just had. Sitting up in bed, he watches his roommate sleep and tries to calm himself after the terrible dream. He looks at his own hands and wonders if it was all just a nightmare or a memory. Then he notices that the leader's bed is M-figures. He went to train again, as usual. The young man holds his head in despair, as the nightmare was a memory from his past life where everyone perished. He thinks that in this life, he saved a friend and trained, risking everything to achieve his goals. But with a clenched fist, he questions if everything he's doing is really enough. He knows that soon, more powerful monsters like the Cheel, Jai and the Doxa, will appear one after another. He remembers that in his past life, he barely survived, losing friends, and the demons were just the beginning. 5 years later, the Hyo Ma appeared with incredible power, and 2 years after that, the front line collapsed. The blood cult simply ignored all agreements and began to expand its territory mercilessly. Since he fell in that battle, he doesn't know if the Martial Alliance won or if the cult took over the world. Because of this, he knows that no matter the future, the only thing he can do is train every single day without stopping. But every time the nightmare returns, he wonders if all his effort is truly enough. With a determined look, he comes to the conclusion that what he's doing now is not going to cut it for what's coming. With only 2 days left until the confrontation with Ju Tae, Kaiyang, we see a group patrolling the forest. One of the girls complains that of all days, she's on patrol when she really wanted to train a bit more. She smiles, thinking she never imagined she'd one day be bummed about not being able to do a night training session. The young woman recalls that when it was decided she would go to the front lines, all she could think was that she was going to her doom. When Na-seo turned 7, her mother passed away, and her stepmother took complete control of the family. The stepmother then sent her to the war and discriminated against her and her younger brother, hiding it from their father. The woman would say she couldn't send the future heir of the family to such a dangerous place. So, she would claim that for the good of the family, Na-seo, you should make that sacrifice in his place. Even though it was incredibly difficult, the young woman believed that sacrificing herself was her way of serving her father. With her hands clasped, she would reply that she understood and accepted her fate without questioning her stepmother's decision. The girl knew that going there meant it was the end for her, but she didn't know how to refuse, having lived that way for so long. And sure enough, on her very first patrol on the front lines, Na-seo faced a life-threatening crisis. She and her partner split up to look for tracks, believing a monster is in the forest. The girl runs through the forest with a look of surprise and fear on her face. She then lands near the body of her fallen partner and braces herself for whatever comes next. Analyzing the scene, she finds the monster's tracks and realizes it's very close by. She knows she needs to alert the other team members and thinks about using an emergency flare. But suddenly, the young woman senses a presence from above and looks up at the sky, completely terrified. A demon called Ma-du drops from the sky, and the young woman instantly realizes it was all a huge trap. Desperate, she screams the creature's name and tries to defend herself, using her sword to block the attack. The young woman is quickly overpowered, her face showing pure terror, as she's pushed back by the enemy's strength. She can't hold against the pressure and ends up falling to the ground, completely defeated. A man grabs her by the chin and remarks with a wicked smile that she's a very pretty girl. The villain says she was an unexpected catch, making his nasty intentions with the young warrior clear. Na-seo Yu squeezes her eyes shut, feeling pain and disgust from the humiliating situation she's in. The man leans over her, ready to harm her, with the girl unable to do anything to fight back. Suddenly, someone appears and lands a powerful punch on the villain's face, sending him flying. The scene shows the impact of the blow and the arrival of an unexpected savior for the girl in peril. The man gets up furiously and yells out, asking who dared to interrupt his plans like that. But the savior, who is Seal Pong, is already in a fighting stance, ready to continue the brawl. Without wasting a moment, he lunges forward again and throws another punch with all his might at the enemy. Lying on the ground, the girl wonders what just happened, as she thought her time was up. After the commotion, the forest falls silent, and a calm light illuminates the area. Seal Pong rushes over to Nasio, Yu, and asks with concern if she was hurt in the scuffle. He then offers his hand to help her up, and the girl looks at him with tears in her eyes. With a confident smile, the warrior tells the young woman that everything is okay now that he's here to help. The young man then gets closer to her and starts to say something while the girl is still on the ground. He notices she was hit with a pressure point strike and says he'll help her with that. After he helps her, she smiles happily and leans on him, completely relieved and grateful for his help. But the warrior looks incredibly embarrassed and awkward with the girl's sudden closeness. She remembers that in that moment, she forgot all her fear and just burst out laughing. Later, he was chosen as the leader of the newly formed Squad 7, and she decided to follow him. The girl thinks to herself that those were the happiest moments of her entire life up to that point, and she feels that even if she were to pass on tomorrow, she wouldn't regret any of her choices. Feeling like they have nothing to regret, the squad heads deeper into the forest. During the walk, young Master Bai complains that his body feels heavy, but the vice leader says she feels just fine. With a smile, she compliments the guy, saying he's gotten more handsome lately. Young Master Bai gets all flustered and says that's hard to believe since all she does is praise him, but the woman insists it's true. Elsewhere, the girls are fawning all over young Master Bai, who's getting completely flustered by all the attention. The guy is surprised and blushing as the ladies call out to him. The vice leader then gives him a tip, saying that women don't like the obvious stuff, and the secret is to be subtle. Right after, she turns and her attention shifts to someone else in the group. Looking at Soundwoo, she wonders if something's bothering him, as he seems really deep in thought lately. She figures everyone thinks it's because of the duel, and the squad's whole vibe feels heavy because of him. Thinking of Yaon, the vice leader remembers a conversation that still really bothers her. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Yan is chatting with her friends, and one of them says she was right about something. The vice leader mentions that at first, she thought Sanwoo and Yaon were a couple or had feelings for each other. She first thought this when she saw Yan join the 7th squad, right after our hero did. The pink-haired girl agrees, saying she thought the same thing, but after seeing Yaon's face, she felt sorry for her. The two then look at Yaon, waiting for her to respond to this whole conversation. With a blushing face, Yaon confesses to her friends that she likes young Master Soundwoo. The sudden confession leaves the other two girls completely shocked and speechless. The vice leader tries to play it down, saying she also likes him as a treasured member, but Yaon is direct, stating that she likes Sanwoo as a man, leaving her friends even more stunned by the revelation. The vice leader is taken aback by the answer, and Yaon says he seems interested in her, but not as a woman. Instead, his interest is of a different kind, something she's still trying to figure out. She tells them she liked him even when he was chubby, and that her feelings haven't changed. Her friend then asks why she doesn't do anything about it, but Yaon doesn't know what to say. The girl suggests she show her face or get closer so he'll finally notice her, but Yaon just smiles and says she's happy, just watching the guy from a distance for now. This response leaves her two friends completely speechless, not knowing what to say. The vice leader thinks that after hearing this story, she can't meddle in their business. Suddenly, a hand appears from between the trees, interrupting their conversation. It was their leader, Seal Pong, who pops out of nowhere, putting the entire squad on high alert. Our protagonist and the vice leader realize something strange is going on. Without a second thought, the leader sprints deep into the woods. He flies past our hero and the rest of the squad, who are left in the dust. From behind a tree, a desperate man appears, begging for help. The squad leader is surprised and stops to see what's happening. Meanwhile, the sun sets over the mountains and the forest. The man explains that he's from the Miao tribe, and that he's not a monster, but a survivor. He says the venerable poison is in bad shape, and that everyone is going to bite the dust without their help. The vice leader sums it up, saying they were saved by this person who is now on their last legs. Shilpong then speculates that it could be a ki deviation caused by training. One of the guys remarks that they came all the way to the front lines just to ask for help. On his knees, the man from the Mao tribe begs them to save his benefactor and his brothers. But suddenly, a voice cuts in, saying the story is obviously a lie. It's Chute Jiang, who doubts how they could have survived in a forest swarming with demons. The man defends himself, saying a scent given to them by the venerable poison scared the monsters away. Our protagonist gets curious and asks what kind of scent he's talking about. The man explains that the monsters hate this odor, which is why they don't come near them. He then shows a small pouch that contains the so-called protective scent. Seeing this, our hero turns to the captain and says they should go check it out. Xianwu thinks that little pouch alone is worth the trip to investigate the situation. However, Jute Jiang gets annoyed and questions the idea of trusting an item that could be a fake. Our hero then argues that they know the layout of the forest, and that's useful. The guy gets furious and reminds them that the Blood Cult and the Martial Alliance have an agreement. With a smirk, our hero says that agreement isn't worth the paper it's written on, since they get attacked every single day. He taunts Jute Jiang, asking how a disciple of the Spear sect could say something like that, and he asks if he's forgotten their mission to attack the cult and take back the temple. Captain Sealpong then asks the tribesman how long it takes to get there. He thinks the timeline is too tight and says there's no guarantee the treatment will be successful. Furthermore, he warns that this is desertion and could lead to severe punishment. Our hero then smiles and tells them not to worry, because he didn't ask them to come along. With a smile, he says not everyone needs to go and suggests a small group for the mission. Besides, as for deserting their post, he has the perfect loophole for the situation. Our hero asks the man if there are monsters in the forest that absorb life energy. The tribesman confirms, terrified, and says those creatures are extremely dangerous. Knowing they are spider ghosts, he declares they must go hunt them down immediately. Faced with that argument, Captain Silpong agrees, saying this mission is now mandatory. Yaon then volunteers to go along, promising she won't fall behind on the way. The captain accepts, saying it'll be great to have the young Chiang, Yan, with them on the journey. Right after, he asks the vice captain to watch their six and apologizes for his absence. With a smile, she tells him to come back safe and says she'll be waiting for them. The farewell leaves Captain Seal Pong with a slightly worried expression on his face. But before they leave, Jute Jiang approaches and reminds our hero about their duel. He's not postponing the fight and even accuses the kid of running away to avoid it. Our protagonist laughs and says a duel with him means nothing compared to this mission. Utterly indignant at the response, Jute Jiang is left fuming and speechless. Paying him no more mind, the group takes off, running at high speed through the forest. As he's being carried, the tribesman is amazed by the group's incredible speed. Our hero notes that even in this situation, the young man has a pretty cheerful personality. He then remembers that in his past life, this same guy came asking for help but was turned away. Back then, since nothing changed, he thought it was just an insignificant encounter. But he remembers that after that, the venomous snake ghost appeared and everything went south. This tragedy happened right when Captain Seal Pong left to save Jute Jiang's group. The venom was so potent that neither the squad's medic nor the young Tang Yeo could neutralize it. So, the captain went into the jungle alone, and with the help of the Meow people, returned with herds that saved a few. Unfortunately, the young Na wasn't one of them, and by the time he returned, it was too late to save her. That incident changed everyone. The captain became cold, while our hero sought revenge through training. In the end, his leader became the Mad Wind's flying dragon, and he himself gained a top-tier skill. Now, he thinks that even if he isn't sure this young man is the same one who helped, it's worth a shot. The young Meow then takes the lead, guiding the group through the dark, pathless forest. Yan looks up at the sky and feels relieved that at least the stars are shining tonight. Our protagonist seizes the moment and suggests to Young that they practice sensing things with their eyes closed. His friend scoffs at the idea, complaining that the situation is already tough, and now he's adding more training. The guide asks everyone to stick close, as the area is quiet because it's inhabited by snakes and insects. The group continues walking very carefully through the dark and silent woods, following the guide. Suddenly, our hero and his friend are startled by a swift movement in front of them. It was Captain Seal Pong, who acted fast and snatched a strange red creature out of the air. He identifies it as a triple vein corpse, and Yayon freaks out because it's a super rare venomous critter. The captain simply crushes the creature and says that apparently it's not so rare around here. The young Meow is impressed by his skill, and Seal Pong asks if that sort of thing is common in the area. The guide then warns that up ahead is the poisonous forest, with a swamp they would never. Lost in thought, our hero concludes that the Meow people are hiding here because of the blood cult. Seal Pong asks if the demons avoid the place because of the poison, and the guide confirms it. He also warns that a poison-spitting monster is about to appear, and they need to be careful. Our protagonist and Seal Pong get serious, and our guy thinks the venerable poison knows a lot about demons. Continuing on their way, our boy wonders who this mysterious person could be. The guide then explains that they need to use herbs to ward off dangerous snakes and insects. Yaon comments that they should learn that trick, but Seal Pong says it would be trouble to come here unprepared. The captain realizes their patrol route only goes this far because of the dangerous poisonous forest. The group then continues their journey cautiously through the dark and sinister forest. Suddenly, a noise startles Young, who wonders what that sound was. Seal Pong reveals that a centipede larger than a person is watching them from the woods. Our hero imagines some kind of giant beast, but quickly dismisses the absurd idea. The guide explains that the centipede is tame because he fed it once, and it never attacked. Our guy then says that's already dangerous and asks what the most terrifying creatures are. The guide lists off spider, wasps with human faces, and snakes with horns, making everyone just a little bit freaked out. Our hero and Young are horrified to learn that these monsters actually exist around here. Young then asks fearfully if, by any chance, there are any dragons in the forest. The guy is relieved to hear from the guide that he's never heard of any dragons around there. But the calm doesn't last long, as the guide points out another danger, a black panther that has ingested poison. He describes how its claws and teeth are venomous, and that it's so strong that spears are useless against it. Suddenly, Seal Pong stops and says the panther is right there in front of them. The group tenses up as they spot the creature approaching slowly in the darkness. With its eyes glowing, the black panther stares them down, ready to pounce at any moment. The guide freaks out, saying it shouldn't be here, as it usually stays deeper in the forest. Seal Pong throws a piece of meat to try and distract the animal and buy some time. The panther approaches the food and sniffs it suspiciously, without taking its eyes off the group. Instead of eating the meat, it crushes it with its paw, showing it has no interest in it. Yaon wonders if they look tastier than the meat, as the panther continues to stare them down. Our hero thinks it's because they don't have the protective herbs on their skin, like the guide does. Young jokes that it's a shame our guy lost all that weight, because he would have made some prime bait. Our hero shoots back with a sarcastic remark, and his friend says he's as sharp as ever. The panther then starts to move, and Young warns that it's coming their way. Without hesitation, Seal Pong charges forward and leaps towards the animal to start the fight. The panther attacks with its poisonous claws, but the captain is faster and dodges. He counters with a powerful punch that lands squarely on the creature's body. Young is shocked to see that the panther managed to block the captain's attack. The creature then prepares for another attack with its sharp and deadly claws. Seal Pong doesn't back down and delivers a powerful kick that hits the panther hard. The impact of the blow causes the panther's paw to bend at an odd angle. Even injured, the panther doesn't give up and continues to fight Captain Seal Pong. With the force of the impact, Captain Seal Pong is thrown back violently. He's clearly surprised by the beast's power, as he wasn't expecting that. The panther then prepares for another attack, its paw glowing with energy. However, the leader manages to dodge just in time, showing off his incredible agility in battle. Meanwhile, our protagonist and Yaon watch the fight with deep concern. The creature then manages to land a hit on the captain, sending him flying with a brutal blow. Even in mid-air, Seal Pong manages to twist around and counters the attack with a powerful punch. Seeing that the situation is getting hairy, the rest of the team jumps in to help. Our hero and Yaon get ready for a combined attack from above the beast. But the panther reacts quickly, using its tail like a whip to defend against the blow. The attack hits our guy, and Yaon catches him to keep him from hitting the ground. Deep in the forest, a giant panther nimbly dodges a joint attack from two warriors. Immediately after, the two swordsmen land on the ground, ready to give chase. Faced with this situation, the creature decides to flee deeper into the woods as the group watches. The beast, with its glowing eyes, continues on its path through the dark of the night. Its intimidating gaze shows it's no ordinary animal, but a truly dangerous creature. And just like that, the panther calmly walks away while the group of adventurers simply watches it go. The man in red comments to his companions that it looks like the beast is heading back to its turf. His friends, on the other hand, are stunned, remarking on how incredible it is that a monster like that even exists. One of the members says that the most amazing part isn't the creature's existence, but the fact that it's so close. From there, with the threat now distant, the group continues their trek along a forest trail. Along the way, one of the guys mentions that he tried to learn as much as he could from Dokkum. He says that Dokkum wasn't great with words, but was very skilled at explaining things. Apparently, they walked through the entire night, only reaching their destination as the sun came up. The group leader comments that at their current pace, they can make it back in about 6 hours. Our MC is confused and asks if the three of them really memorized the whole way back in the dark. His companions reply that the path wasn't complicated and that it was only natural to memorize it for the return trip. Hearing this, our MC gets a totally ticked off look on his face, not believing what he just heard. At that moment, Dokkum points to a small thatched hut and says that's his home and they're expected. With that, he runs into the hut, calling for the Poison Elder and saying he's brought people to help. Inside, some children see Dokkum and cheer happily, saying he's finally back. The kids hug him and ask where he went, telling him they missed him a lot. Right after, a very cranky old man asks where he's been all night and what this nonsense is about. Kelp. The group leader politely introduces himself, saying they came at Dokkum's request to offer assistance. The elder glares at them with contempt and asks who they are and if they're part of the Ascending Dragon Corps. Without waiting for an answer, the old man furiously yells at all of them to get out of his sight immediately. The group is kicked out of the house, while the older man says that just looking at them gets on his nerves. Because of this, he smashes a bowl on the floor, and Dokkum asks what's going on and why he did that. The old man yells at the young man, saying he would never accept help from their kind, not even if he were on his deathbed. Outside, our hero's group just stands there as various objects are thrown in their direction. They are all baffled by the situation, wondering what kind of ridiculous welcome this was. Dokkum apologizes to the group, sorry that they came all this way for nothing. He doesn't know how to make up for this situation. One of the companions tells him to chill out and think of it as a free show. At least the old man seems to have plenty of energy. Another group member offers help in the future and asks for a favor in return. Dokkum immediately accepts, promising he'll remember. The companion reflects that his goal was achieved by settling the debt. He wanted a contact to get herbs and information. With that settled, he calls for the squad leader so they can leave. After all, if they leave now, they'll have plenty of time. However, the squad leader turns around and heads back to the house. Dokkum is confused, wondering about the squad leader. Title. Our MC just stares at his companion, completely lost. His expression shows the confusion of the moment. The group leader enters the house again and raises his hand. He tells the elder he believes there's been a misunderstanding. From the bed, the old man shouts back, asking what misunderstanding. He then tells the group to get out of there at once. The leader explains that he's from the Ascending Dragon Corps but isn't orthodox, and they didn't come to take anything, only to help. The elder thinks that's a load of bull and doesn't believe it. To him, it's like a dog denying it's an animal. Faced with this, the leader proposes a bold bet. If he proves he's not orthodox, the old man will let himself be examined in detail. The older man is in complete shock at the unexpected proposal. He can't even respond properly. The leader takes the silence as a wise. And so, he starts approaching the sick man. The rest of the group is completely clueless. They wonder if the leader isn't orthodox and admit they don't know about his sect. One of the companions thinks that no one knows the squad leader's true appearance, not even among the 13 Ascending Dragon Corps. He vividly remembers the day the front line collapsed, and he saw the leader's true identity, with his red eyes and terrifying power. Upon hearing about the red eyes, the old man is shocked and stammers, asking what he is. The leader gives a slight smirk as the elder questions why the heck he would be in the Ascending Dragon Corps. The scene shows the leader next to the sick man's bed, while everyone else watches the interaction from a distance. With that, the leader takes the older man's hand to check his pulse and verify his condition. After the analysis, he apologizes and says that with his current skills, there's nothing he can do to help. The elder scoffs, saying that even he, who dedicated his life to studying poisons, couldn't do a thing. So what could some kid possibly do? At this, the leader turns to Decom and apologizes for not meeting his expectations, and Decom looks awkward. And so, he turns to step away from the elder's bed, looking like he's about to leave. He then rejoins his companions and says that now they are really heading home. But the old man calls out to him, commenting on his strange identity and asking if he'll hide it from the children too. The leader stops for a moment and casts a serious glance back without saying a word. From there, the man in charge reveals his affiliation, telling the elder that he is part of the blood cult. The revelation shocks the entire group, and our protagonist asks in disbelief if he's really from the blood cult. One of the companions reflects that the old man's hatred for the orthodox and his knowledge now makes sense. He must have been a demonic martial artist. However, he also recalls that according to Decom, the elder has been helping the Meow people for a long time for unknown reasons. At that moment, our protagonist confronts his leader, asking what's going on, and if he's really from the blood cult. The leader apologizes, saying he thought of Decom and the children, and that's why he couldn't bring himself to tell him the truth. Faced with the lie, our hero gets furious and draws his sword, preparing to take action. He lunges towards the elder and says that even if his leader forgives him, he would never forgive someone like him. Decom and the children get desperate and beg for forgiveness as our protagonist threatens the old man with his blade. The older man scoffs at him, saying that's the typical attitude of the orthodox, who want to eliminate demons to feel satisfied. Because of this, our young hero screams at the top of his lungs, telling the demon to shut his mouth immediately. The children and Decom stand in front of the elder, pleading for the great hero to spare his life. The young man yells at the cultist, asking how he dares to mock the orthodox, and what right he has to do so. The elder retorts with fury that he has every right, as he lost everything because of hypocrites like them. And so, he challenges him to a fight, saying that even though he's not in his best shape, he can take him down without a problem. Our protagonist accepts the challenge with a crazed look in his eyes, shouting that he will grant the elder's wish. He then charges forward to attack while Decom and the children desperately try to stop the fight. The children cry hysterically, begging the hero to stop as they try to shield him. This scene makes our protagonist remember two smiling children who used to call him disciple brother. The memory hits him hard, and he grits his teeth, feeling immense emotional pain at that moment. He then shuts his eyes tightly as he tries to process the whole situation that's happening. At that instant, a hand grabs his arm, stopping him from completing his attack on the older man. Our protagonist introduces himself as Bai, Saiyang of the Baizhang sect, and accuses the old man of hiding behind children. With that, he decides to erase the events from his mind and pretend he never saw the head of the blood cult there. The elder, however, is surprised to hear the name of the Baizhang sect, seeming to recognize it from somewhere. He then asks if it's the Baizhang sect of Guangxi, and our hero confirms with a disdainful tone. From there, the old man mentions a tragic event known as the Mowang bloodbath. Our protagonist becomes furious and grabs the elder, screaming how he dares to mention that incident in front of him. The man explains that he lost everything to the Diankang sect and other factions, and has no regrets about his revenge. And so, he kneels before the young man and says he can take his life if he wishes. Bai Saiyang is completely confused by the old man's actions and asks what he's talking about. To everyone's shock, the elder reveals that he was the one who planned the Mawang massacre, along with Mu Guang. He continues, revealing that he was the one who finished off the adults of the young man's sect, leaving him utterly shocked by the truth. The rest of the group watches the scene, not understanding anything, and the leader asks what the heck the old man is doing. The old man, kneeling on the floor, says his side of the story doesn't matter and asks the young man to take his life to settle his anger. But Bai Saiyang screams furiously that he'll be the one to decide whether he understands or not, and grabs the old man, demanding he tell him what happened. And so, the man introduces himself as Sikungul, the former head scribe of the Jian Mansion, an orthodox sect from Yunnan. He explains that he was once very close to the head of the Jian family, Mu Guang, and that the two shared a great dream. That dream was to recover the martial arts lost 100 years ago, a powerful technique from a legendary swordsman. The two tried for a long time to recover this technique, and Mu Guang eventually discovered a secret training room of his ancestors. It was a day of great joy for the entire clan when they recovered the lost arts, but their happiness was short-lived. The secret room was located in the territory of the Mai family mansion, and their leader demanded the rights to the lightning sword. John Mu Guang refused the request, and because of that, Ma Yongchok asked the Diankang sect, one of the great sects, to make a decision. At the time, they believed that Diankang, being an orthodox leader, would never accept such a ridiculous claim. However, the sect sided with the Ma family mansion because Ma Yongchuk's son was the favorite disciple of the Diankang master. Diankang pressured them to hand over the sword, and as a last resort, Sok Kyungdul went to the alliance to ask for help. However, no member was willing to meet with him, not even the alliance leader, who was known as the most just of all heroes. The old man recounts that when he returned to the Jian mansion, the place was already in ruins, and only Jian Mu Guang had survived the attack. On top of that, his own family was also wiped out, and the invaders kidnapped Mu Guang's daughter, threatening him. With hearts full of hatred, the two decided to get their revenge, and that's when the blood cult showed up. Our protagonist understands that they made a terrible choice for the sake of revenge, even knowing the cult was public enemy number one. One of the companions realizes that the bloodbath in Mawang was planned from the start to target the Diankang sect. The old man confirms with a dark smile, saying they followed his predictions perfectly, falling right into the trap. However, he didn't expect all the martial artists to be pushed there, but he admits that's just an excuse. And so, he again asks Bai Saiyang to take his life, just as he took the lives of his elders to get his revenge. At that moment, the children run to protect him, screaming desperately for them not to harm their grandfather. Our protagonist wonders why such an important man would be hiding here and questions if he was betrayed. The elder reveals that his only goal was revenge, but Mu Guang had new dreams, and he couldn't stop him. With a sarcastic smile, Bai Saiyang asks if that's why he's raising the Maya children here, trying to atone. The old man denies it, saying he couldn't possibly atone after taking so many lives, and that he simply couldn't help himself. Our hero repeats the phrase with disdain and lets out a sarcastic laugh, not believing the excuse he just heard. He then explodes with rage, shouting if the old man has any idea how they had to live because of him and his masters. Our protagonist continues his furious speech, questioning the old man and saying that if he's from the cult, he should live like it. With a maniacal smile, he recounts that he revealed he was from the Baizhang sect to a Diankang member just to see their reaction. He's disgusted because the Diankang member mocked his master, while the head of the cult wants to atone with his own life. With his fist clenched in anger, our hero screams that the whole situation is completely unfair. He says that if he finishes him off now, it will only create more people like himself, and even questions if he should take out Decom and the children too. At this, he tells the old man to stop talking and try to atone as best he can while he's still alive. One of his companions interrupts, saying they need the elder's knowledge to attack the blood cult. Sukongdal hears the group's request and remains silent for a moment, thinking about what to do. From there, he makes a decision and asks Decom to go get something he made last time. Decom returns with a small paper packet containing what looks like a medicinal pill. The old man offers the pill and says it's no greater rejuvenation pill, but it's on par with the lesser one from Shaolin. Our protagonist gets all flustered and denies that something like that will calm his anger, saying he's not that kind of person. His companions then start teasing him, remembering how he was always complaining about never getting his hands on an elixir before. After the teasing, our hero becomes thoughtful and suggests they split the pill among everyone. He explains that one of them needs Ki immediately, and the others need to get stronger so they can protect him. The leader and his female companion decline the offer, thanking him. He says elixirs no longer help him, as he has reached his 80-year limit. Seeing the group's attitude, the elder is shocked. He's never seen anyone offer up an elixir and asks what kind of people they are. Our protagonist then tells his friend not to worry about Q deviation and to just eat the pill. His companions are curious about that statement. They ask if there's some special method to avoid the problem. With that, the old man prepares to reveal one of the blood cult's greatest secrets to the group. He holds up a small pouch and reveals that the secret is to use a poison core to control the flow of energy. The group doesn't get it, and he explains that it's a poison Ki core with very faint traces of poisonous Q. Apparently, Q deviation happens when internal energy collides, and an external agent can prevent that. One of the group members is impressed and wonders how such an important fact remained unknown for so long. The elder reiterates that it's a secret and that no one would think twice about a cult member having a poison core. With this revelation, one of the guys understands why it was so hard to eliminate the cult, as they gained Q so easily, and so they suggest that the two of them take the elixir right now. Since one of them has a duel coming up, the two immediately agree. Now that they know the secret, there's no reason to hesitate, and they get ready to take the pill. Meanwhile, Decom, the elder, and the children just watch the whole scene unfold before them. Decom then asks one of the children about Racun, and she tells him he hasn't come back, which is why Decom went looking for him. Hearing this news, Decom becomes very worried about the boy's disappearance and covers his mouth, not knowing what to think. He tries to calm himself down, thinking that the boy knows the forest well and won't get lost out there. However, while he waits, the boy is in danger as a shadowy figure watches him in the darkness of the night. But in the forest, a panther dodges an attack and gets ready to run. The creature then decides to retreat into the woods as the group watches. Its glowing eyes show that it's a very dangerous creature, and so the panther leaves peacefully while the group observes it. The man in red comments to his companions that the beast has returned to its territory. The general then approaches the animal, now down on the ground. His companions praise him for how easily he defeated the creature. He then orders them to capture the panther, as the blood demon might be interested. One of the men approaches the general and questions what he's doing there. The leader gets angry and asks if he's questioning the blood demon's decision. The terrified man denies it, saying he was just worried about his leader. With that, the general hits him with a decisive blow, sending him flying, and so he says they don't need believers who won't submit to the blood demon. Another man then arrives, saying they captured a Miao child nearby. He then shows the little girl who is carrying a bag of anti-corpse scents. The crying little girl denies there's a heady out there and calls them monsters. The general then smiles and says they've found a way to keep the undead away. The guy who questioned him is terrified by his leader's coldness. Without hesitation, the general grabs the child by the neck and lifts her up. Then, with his eyes glowing, he uses a mind control spell on the little girl, and now, with lifeless eyes, the girl is completely under his control. Meanwhile, at the elder's house, our heroes are meditating peacefully, They say that freeing the corpses is just the beginning, and that stronger demons will come. The elder is asked if the created demons are just prototypes. He confirms it and says that's why he left Mugang. But before he could finish, a child calls out to him desperately. She says Rakan is bringing strange men, and the old man becomes alert. He then peeks through the window and gets worried by what he sees. His expression changes completely as he recognizes who is approaching. Desperate, he yells for everyone to flee immediately through the back. With that, he reveals it's the demonic general of bloodlust. This general is a supreme level demon and very powerful. The elder also says that Rakan has already been enchanted, and everyone will be lost if they try to help. Our hero looks at his friends who are still meditating. The old man then says he'll buy them time, so they can escape with the children. But the blue-haired girl interrupts and tells him not to do it. She then says they will stay to fight by his side, and outside, the general gets closer and closer to the house. He and his men are guided by Rakan, who is under the spell's effect. The general then smiles and says he will finally reunite with Elder Suck. The general stops in front of the house and faces the heroes who came out for the confrontation. He looks at them with a serious and challenging expression, ready for battle. At that moment, the squad leader and his companions step out to face him. The young man introduces himself as Seal Pung, the leader of the 7th Squad. Then, the general also introduces himself as Ji Guangok of the Blood Cult. He says he has business with the old man there and asks if they are going to stop him. The leader says he won't stop him, but that it's a patrolled territory. With a mocking smile, the general disagrees with the young man's statement. The young man then points to a mark that should be on the house. The older man looks in the pointed direction, but doesn't seem to see anything. But before he can say anything, the squad leader lunges forward with a punch. He throws a powerful and swift blow towards his opponent's face. With that, the general is thrown back by the force of the impact and is surprised. His expression shows he didn't expect such a fast and strong attack. Without giving him time to recover, the young man continues his brutal assault. Seeing their leader in trouble, the general's men run to help him. One of them approaches from behind and prepares to attack the young warrior, but the blue-haired girl appears and blocks the man's attack. With her sword, she manages to stop the blow and protect her captain. The other men get furious and make disrespectful comments about the girl, and they continue with the insults, saying not to hurt her face. The girl then smiles confidently and mockingly at the men. Just then, the squad leader is hit and thrown far away by the general. He thinks he can only keep this power level up for 15 minutes, so he needs to end the fight before his time runs out. The two continue trading blows at high speed in an intense fight. The young man manages to land a powerful kick to his opponent's chest, but the general impressively blocks the blow with his foot. The squad leader backs off and prepares for his next move. The clash between the two warriors creates a huge shockwave. The young man is impressed by the general's strength and recognizes him. The general takes advantage of the opening and throws a punch at the young man. With a wicked smile, he says he's happy he can finish him off right there. His blow lands squarely on the squad leader, knocking him to the ground. The young man is pushed back, but manages to defend himself from the attack. Even injured, the young warrior doesn't give up and stays on the defensive. The general leaps into the air and prepares for a devastating aerial attack. He comes down with all his might to crush his opponent, but the squad leader manages to dodge at the last second. The two face each other again, ready to continue the life or death battle. With a bloodied hand, the general advances with a smile on his face. He then throws a punch that hits the young man's chest with full force. From the force of the impact, the squad leader is dragged backward. The general is surprised the young man is still standing after that blow. He then leaps and says it's an honor for the young man to fall by his hands. The squad leader recovers and prepares for the next attack. Meanwhile, the elder tells the children to hide in a cellar. He says he will be gone soon and wants to enjoy the rest of his life. Tears fill the room, and the old man says everything will be okay. The elder then kneels near his bed and prepares himself. He says he will once again use the demonic arts he had sealed away. A purple energy surrounds his body as he transforms. But he knows his body won't hold out for long, and he smiles. At that instant, one of his companions touches him. The old man is startled and asks why the young man is still there. Outside, the girl is surrounded by the general's men. She charges forward with her sword to face the enemies alone. With a serious and focused expression, she prepares for battle. The men surround her, making comments about her appearance. The blue-haired girl just watches them with a cold gaze. The fight between the leaders continues with an exchange of brutal blows. The squad leader defends himself as best he can from the general's attacks. The impact of the blows makes the ground tremble and crack. The young man thinks it's incredible he's lasting so long in the fight. He knows one mistake could be his last, and that he needs to be careful. At that moment, the blue-haired girl makes a decision. She faces her opponents with a confident and mysterious smile. One of the men charges forward to attack her with his sword. The young woman holds her weapon firmly, preparing for combat. With a swift movement, she lands multiple strikes on the enemy. The man is shocked by the speed and precision of the attack, and just like that, he falls to the ground, defeated, without even understanding what happened. The other men are surprised and say she was hiding her skills. They then order everyone to attack her all at once. One of the henchmen leaps for an aerial attack with his spear. Our hero then joins the fight to help the girl. With his sword, he blocks the attack and protects his companion. Another companion praises the girl for her good work. Now, with a blue aura, she seems even more powerful and confident. She then says that their numbers won't change the situation. Our hero says he has accumulated almost 60 years of power, and now it's time to test it. He then uses a powerful technique of 13 swords against one of the enemies. The older man is completely shocked and terrified by the power of the blow. The two clash in the air in a fast and very intense exchange of blows. The young man smiles and thinks it was easier than he imagined to use this ability. With a determined look, he turns and prepares for the next opponent. Meanwhile, the blue-haired girl faces another of the general's henchmen. The enemy is startled to see our hero suddenly appear behind him. The blade quickly approaches his neck before he can react. With the enemy on the ground, our hero says he hopes he didn't interrupt the fight. The fallen henchman begs his companions for help, but they are paralyzed by some technique and can't move. Elsewhere, the transformed elder furiously shouts the general's name. The general looks up and sees the old man coming towards him with a purple aura. The clash between the two creates a huge explosion of energy on the battlefield. In the midst of the confusion, the squad leader seems to be in trouble. From the force of the impact, the elder is thrown back violently. The general, however, seems to emerge unscathed from the confrontation and smiles confidently. He then recognizes his opponent and calls him Elder Sok. The general asks how Mugang is doing while the old man looks exhausted. He says the blood demon is fine and that the old man delayed his plans. The elder realizes his former master has recovered the research he destroyed. The general then reveals that the blood demon made him make a promise. He promised that if he found Elder Silk, he would send him to the other side. With that, a red aura surrounds his body, and he prepares to attack. The elder laughs defiantly as the general advances for the final blow. The old man says he only has 90 years of ki, but it's not over yet. He then unleashes all his purple energy to collide with the general's attack. The general is surprised to see the elder still has so much power. His attack is repelled, and he is thrown far away by the force of the explosion. He then realizes the old man used the Berserker blood pill. This pill temporarily increases power, but has severe side effects. Seeing the squad leader advancing, the elder understands the enemy's plan. The young man attacks the old man with a quick and precise blow to his chest. With that, the elder is thrown backward, unable to defend himself in time. The squad leader and the elder then team up to attack the general. The general is hit from both sides and seems to be in trouble. Furious, he calls them fleas as he tries to defend against their attacks. But the pill's effect wears off, and the elder falls to his knees, completely exhausted. The general smiles and says his goodbyes as the squad leader screams in desperation. Our hero watches everything closely with an attentive and surprised look. The squad leader is surprised to see his companion holding him back. The purple-haired young man shakes his head and stops him from joining the fight. At that moment, the general attacks the elder mercilessly in a brutal blow. He smiles wickedly, believing he has easily won the battle. With victory in hand, his expression is one of pure satisfaction and cruelty, but the elder uses his last strength to grab his enemy's arm. With a firm grip, he holds him with a deadly and determined clutch. The general is furious with the old man's action and endlessly curses him. Then the elder says that even if he goes down, he's taking him with him to the other side. A huge explosion of energy occurs in the middle of the battlefield. The heroes are thrown back as they scream their old friend's name. The protagonist remembers the conversation he had with the elder earlier. The old man revealed his plan to sacrifice himself to take the general with him. The other companion questioned why he would go so far for them, and the elder simply replied that he felt like doing it. Now, the two warriors retreat to protect themselves from the explosion's smoke. Gravely injured, the general stares at the enormous hole in his chest. The squad leader realizes the old man used a protection technique. With that, the general falls to his knees, spitting up a dark liquid. The young man in red understands this is the final chance created by the sacrifice. Without hesitation, he charges forward to attack the weakened general. He lands a powerful punch to his opponent's face with all his might. The impact of the blow creates a large shockwave around them. The injured general curses the young warrior, who continues to attack. The squad leader lands another punch with all his strength. The general's hand, now on the ground, shows he can no longer fight. He still tries to resist, but his body is too injured to continue. The young man in red then delivers a final blow to the enemy's chest. The other companions cheer and shout for the leader to finish him. The general's body is thrown violently to the ground, creating a crater. With glowing eyes, the leader prepares for the final blow, and just like that, he completely obliterates the general once and for all with his power. Our hero watches the scene in silence, a bit shocked by what he sees, but the squad leader falls to his knees, spitting up a lot of blood. The purple-haired young man thinks that his leader's power had a time limit. He wonders if the time ran out, but sees that he pushed past the limit. Suddenly, the general reappears, laughing at the young warrior's situation. He says it's a shame and that he'll finish him off first. The protagonist thinks that only the leader could fight, and now they're in trouble. The protagonist thinks that if they had just one more strong fighter, things would be different. But suddenly, he seems to get an idea, and his expression changes. With that, the purple-haired young man charges forward, shouting the general's name. The villain then mocks him, saying the young man's efforts are futile. Our hero then uses a technique to create a large dust screen. The general gets annoyed with the young man's actions and calls them cheap tricks. Confused, he looks around and realizes the young man has disappeared into the smoke. Suddenly, the protagonist swiftly appears behind his enemy. The older man is shocked and furious at the young man's audacity. Then our hero lifts the captured Black Panther above his head, and with all his might, he throws the animal towards the general. The young man then takes out an object and seems to activate some kind of ability. With that, the panther breaks free from the net and charges forward furiously to attack. The general is completely shocked and frozen in place by the situation. The creature then attacks the villain with its sharp claws and teeth. The sound of the attack echoes throughout the forest as the sky is shown. The beast bites the general's arm and violently throws him to the ground. Now injured and missing an arm, the general seems to be in serious trouble. Without wasting time, the panther advances for another deadly attack. He tries to defend himself with his remaining arm, but it seems useless. Taking advantage of the distraction, the protagonist lands a powerful kick on the villain. At that moment, the panther takes the opportunity to attack the general's face with its claws. The general doesn't understand how a black panther ended up there. His expression shows that even injured, he hasn't given up the fight. Then he realizes he was bitten on the arm by a three-colored snake. His eye begins to change color, indicating the strong effect of the venom. The protagonist then shows the bag from which he released the snake. The panther attacks the general once more, biting his neck forcefully. The animal continues its ferocious attack on the now defenseless general. A piece of the villain's body is then thrown far away by the creature. The other companions watch the scene, shocked and speechless. After finishing off the general, the panther turns and faces our hero. The young man seems exhausted and a little worried by the beast's gaze. The creature stands over the general's remains for a moment. It then looks at the protagonist one last time before leaving. And so, the Black Panther calmly returns to the middle of the forest. With the battle over, the protagonist finally collapses to the ground, exhausted. The squad leader approaches and congratulates him on his intelligence. But the young man says that without him, they wouldn't have even been able to buy time. He then asks if his leader is okay, and he says he'll be fine. The leader says it's time to head back, because the other members will be worried. The protagonist thinks that Lady Na would be fine, but worries about Ju Taejiang. He then calls his captain over to talk about something important. The purple-haired young man says he has something to tell him on the way back. Elsewhere, a woman apologizes to a team leader named Han. She seems worried and thinks about postponing the patrols for now. With a smile, she comments to her friend that she's happy he agreed. The younger girl gets curious and asks if he's the genius from the Qingqing sect. The woman then says she'll ask the second team leader to cover the shift. She offers to go alone if her friend feels uncomfortable with him, but the girl says no, that they are companions and it's fine. Then they comment that leader Sagunal is the most reasonable one in the Dian Kong sect. A man then appears as they describe him as cold but admirable. He is known for treating everyone fairly, without any discrimination. In another location, a green-haired man asks if Seal Peng has returned yet. When they meet, the man mocks them and comments that they seem quite unoccupied. The woman says she asked the first team leader to handle the patrol. The green-haired man's henchmen start mocking the absent leader. Annoyed, the woman questions if they shouldn't be worried about a companion, but they say if something happens, Taejiang will become the new leader. The woman then retorts that she should be the next in the line of succession. The men get furious at her audacity and start shouting nonstop. She faces them with a defiant look and repeats their question. With great anger, she yells and says they have no right to talk like that. One of the men then interrupts, saying he knows she's a great martial artist. But the green-haired man provokes her, saying she's not ready for the position yet. The woman then admits that yes, she still has a lot to improve on. With a smile, she challenges him to defeat the protagonist first. The man gets offended and asks if she thinks that Trash is a worthy opponent. She then replies that young Master Jin didn't seem worried at all. Hearing this, the man becomes furious and glares at her with a deadly look. The woman then wishes him good luck and leaves peacefully with her friend. Alone, she thinks that Ju's skills have improved a lot lately, and she wonders if young Master San Wu will be able to handle him now. Arriving at the gate, she apologizes to leader Sagunal for the trouble. The two then exchange a silent glance for a brief moment. He reassures her and says that Seal Peng is one of the best he's ever known. His words seem to calm the woman's heart, and she smiles in relief. Then she calls her friend, so they can finally go home. The girl named Chien Jun gets excited at her friend's call. The woman calls her friend to train, and the girl enthusiastically says yes. Elsewhere, a man walks down the hall, thinking the situation is serious. He then suggests they form a search party, but the woman disagrees. She says that in the leader's absence, the decisions are hers, and no one has ever survived there. With that, she announces that the first thing to do tomorrow will be to gather the leaders. The woman gets furious and questions if he told another leader about the disappearance. The green-haired man smiles and says he did it for the good of their team. Suddenly, a mysterious voice appears and agrees with the young man's action. The woman then laments, saying they were too soft, and the protagonist was right. Just then, the squad leader and his team finally return to the headquarters. Everyone is surprised to see the group back and calls him squad leader. The younger girl runs to hug him, and he apologizes for being late. He then turns to Miss Nai and looks at her with a gentle smile. The woman gets emotional and thanks him for worrying about her. She starts crying without understanding why, and he tries to calm her down. Our hero then explains that she was just very worried about all of them. The purple-haired young man then stares seriously at the green-haired man. The rival provokes him, saying that even if he fights, he won't be able to postpone the match. But the protagonist replies that he wants to get this over with so he can rest. Annoyed, the man sets the fight for an hour from now and threatens him not to run away. The purple-haired young man then questions why he thinks he would run away. He then thanks his opponent will call as many people as possible to watch. With a smile, he says that's exactly what he wants and that he'll make him regret it. Later, the two meet in the courtyard, surrounded by a crowd of spectators. Several squad leaders are also present to watch the showdown. One of them says he was bored and that a good show is always welcome. Other leaders from different clans and squads also watch from a distance. Our hero then takes his position in the center of the courtyard, sword in hand. The opponent threatens him, saying he won't finish him, but will make him wish he had. The purple-haired young man tells him to stop talking and just attack. Furious, the man unleashes a blue aura and charges at the protagonist with everything he's got. He leaps into the air and prepares an aerial attack with his glowing sword. With a swift movement, he comes down with all his force towards his opponent. His expression changes completely when he sees his blow miss the target. The protagonist then appears behind him and taunts him with a mocking smile. The green-haired man is shocked and furious at the young man's audacity. He then attacks again, but the purple-haired young man dodges with ease. The teammates are impressed with the young man's movement technique. He then reveals that he has seen the solar arrow sword technique in his past life. And with a smile, he says that now that his techniques have improved, he can't be touched. One of the spectators comments that the opponent's strikes are fast, but useless. A squad leader notices that our hero hasn't even drawn his sword yet. With that, she says the result is already clear, and she doesn't need to watch anymore. The man beside her then glares at her with a furious and hateful look. Meanwhile, in the arena, the protagonist's rival seems to be getting impatient. He then unleashes multiple high-speed sword strikes against the young man, but the protagonist remains still, his feet planted firmly on the ground. Without moving, he reveals that so far, he has only used one technique, and the opponent is shocked. Then the purple-haired young man finally places his hand on the hilt of his sword. He says he will now use the powerful 13 swords technique of his clan. With that, a huge wave of purple energy surges towards his rival. The green-haired man is caught by surprise and tries to defend himself as best he can. Our hero smiles and says that backing down from an opponent's attacks is foolish. And with a swift movement, he appears behind his enemy for the final blow. The rival is shocked and mutters for him not to get cocky, just because he knows a few tricks. Without giving him time to react, the protagonist lands multiple blows on the enemy. The green-haired man is completely overwhelmed by the wave of brutal attacks. He tries to counterattack, but our hero's speed is impressive. With a victorious smile, the young man prepares for the finishing blow. He then delivers one last powerful slash that hits the opponent dead on. The teammates watch the scene, completely shocked by the victory. The rival looks up and sees the tip of the protagonist's sword at his head. Defeated, he falls to the ground and says, "It's impossible he lost like this." With a smile, our hero says that now Ju Taejing will have to serve him. It's revealed that after the defeat, the rival couldn't handle the humiliation. He hated being under the protagonist's command, so much that he begged to leave. So the proud Ma Yujiem bowed his head to leader Seal Peng. And just like that, not only him but all his henchmen were also transferred. Our hero then says that one untrustworthy member is worse than no member at all. Back in the present, the group is washing up after the intense battle. One of them comments that it was refreshing and invites them to eat together. The purple-haired young man seems thoughtful as he watches the sunset. By the training grounds, some girls seem to be waiting for someone. One of them then approaches, holding a small handkerchief in her hands. She offers it to him so he can dry his sweat, and he thanks her kindly. The girl and her friends get super excited because he said her name. The protagonist thinks of himself as a sinful man, and his friend tells him to stop smiling. The buff friend then asks why the girls are all over him now. The other companion explains it's because of the duel with Ju Taejeong. He then asks if he would get more popular if he got stronger too. The protagonist smiles awkwardly and says it's a strange feeling to be considered handsome. At that moment, a woman appears and asks if they've finished their training for the day. It's Miss Nai, who approaches the group with a gentle and warm smile. In a quick flashback, someone offers her a small, wrapped object. Back in the present, our hero offers her the elixir he got from his father. The woman is surprised and refuses the gift, but he insists on his decision. He explains that the team needs more strong fighters for the upcoming battles. With that, he asks her to accept the gift so everyone can get stronger. She then accepts the elixir, saying she would do anything to help the squad. With a sincere smile, the woman thanks the young Sanwoo Jin for his gesture. The short-haired girl approaches and greets him, calling her Miss Nai. The young man gets a little embarrassed and thinks that things are different now. He then has a little romantic fantasy with the woman and gets all goofy. But the woman points to the other handkerchief he received, and he gets flustered. He then calls himself an idiot in his thoughts for leaving the other gift out. His friend explains that the gift was from a girl named Song Young. Our hero blushes and wonders if Miss Now will get jealous. But to his surprise, she is very happy and proud of his popularity. Confused, he thinks she's acting like a proud mother of her son. He then wonders if by giving her the elixir, he ended up becoming a good son. The woman then announces that they will be getting new members in 3 weeks. The protagonist remembers the rookies and thinks they were pretty lively. She says that although they have fewer people, they are stronger than before. He then remembers the elder and regrets that his knowledge was lost. After the battle, the children followed the old man's advice and went into hiding. The squad leader laments the loss of information about the blood cult. He then approaches the group and asks if the meeting is over. He says he has good news and bad news and asks which they want to hear first. The younger girl chooses the bad news so they can get cheered up by the good news later. The leader announces they're on cleanup duty again, and the friend complains a lot. While his companion grumbles, our hero thinks about the upcoming conference. The conference itself went unnoticed, but strange things happened afterward. It all started when one of the members was found lifeless in the forest. With that, her beloved began to fall apart emotionally because of the loss, and another leader was controlled by the cult and had to be stopped by her captain. Thoughtfully, he wonders if there is any connection between all these events. Excited, the younger girl then asks what the good news of the day is. With a smile, he announces that their vacation has been moved up to next week. Everyone is super happy and celebrates the unexpected news with great joy. But the protagonist is shocked because this never happened in his past life. The squad leader reveals that the head of Team 4 offered up his spot. The protagonist is shocked and thinks that the future has changed unexpectedly. He then reflects that this could be a good thing because he couldn't help before, but now he can observe up close and maybe change what's going to happen. And with a smile, he remembers that something interesting happened in Gujo. The young man asks the leader his plans, and he says he will just train. With that, he excitedly invites him to visit Gujo with him. He then promises that he will treat his captain very well there. The story begins with a conflict between a union leader and a doctor. The doctor, named Ma Jongwon, was one of the most renowned of his time. The merchant promises a reward, but then gets greedy and wants him on his team. But the doctor refuses the offer, and the angry leader looks for his weakness. He then discovers that the doctor only accepted to create a special elixir. With that, he ambushes him, and the doctor escapes with the elixir, but his children don't. The children are then taken as hostages in exchange for the powerful elixir. But the doctor puts the elixir up as a reward for the merchant's head, and now the union leader needs to capture him before others do. The protagonist's companion then seems not to understand the story. He asks what this has to do with their precious vacation. The protagonist then scolds him for wanting to ignore a great injustice. He also says this applies to the buff friend, who looks embarrassed. Leader then says they are there to correct this injustice. But the buff friend asks why they aren't helping the doctor directly. The purple-haired young man then asks why he didn't negotiate with the merchant. If he gave up the elixir, the merchant would free his children as promised. This way, he makes the children seem less important than the elixir. Everyone seems to understand the doctor's strategy and falls silent. The squad leader thinks that the conversation has shifted focus to the elixir. In his past life, the doctor's plan worked, but a master took the item. But the leader's son took revenge and ended the children's lives. In grief, the doctor promised his life to whoever wiped out the Union. With that, the leader concludes their task is to save the doctor's daughters. The younger friend gets worried and says they can't do it alone, but the protagonist reveals that the Union is currently empty. He then points out 3 possible locations where the girls might be held. With that, he divides the tasks among the group for the rescue mission. The buff friend then asks what he should do on the mission. The purple-haired young man says he will do the most important thing of all. The friend gets excited to hear that he's the most important one on the mission. Meanwhile, 2 guards are yawning sleepily at the Union gate. One of the guards complains that it's a drag to be there because of that rat. Just then, he spots a mysterious silhouette approaching the gate. He then stops him and demands to know his identity and what he's doing there. The buff guy introduces himself as Bei Zhongguan and asks to see the Union leader. The guards are confused and call him crazy for wanting to see the boss at this hour, but he insists, saying he traveled a long way to get there. Out of patience, they tell him to come back in the morning to try his luck. Our hero then tells him not to talk too much and just shout really loud. The buff friend then follows the advice and shouts for them to let him in. Annoyed, the guards draw their swords and threaten him to leave. He then laughs at their threat and mocks the 2 men's attitude. With that, the guards prepare to teach him a lesson with force. One of them attacks him, but his sword can't pierce the buff guy's body. The guard is shocked and wonders why his body is so tough. The buff friend then confirms that they really dared to attack him. With a swift movement, he grabs the guard by the collar with great force, and just like that, he throws the 2 men far away with incredible strength. The other guards inside are shocked by the commotion. Then more guards arrive, and he defends himself, saying he was attacked first. A supervisor then appears and asks what's happening there at the gate. One of the guards complains that it's a drag to be there because of that rat. Just then, he spots a mysterious silhouette approaching the gate. The guard then stops him and demands to know his identity and what he's doing there. The buff guy introduces himself as Bei Zhongguan and asks to see the Union leader. The guards are confused and call him crazy for wanting to see the boss at this hour, but he insists, saying he traveled a long way to get there. Out of patience, they tell him to come back in the morning to try his luck. Our hero then tells him not to talk too much and just shout really loud. The buff friend then follows the advice and shouts for them to let him in. Annoyed, the guards draw their swords and threaten him to leave. He then laughs at their threat and mocks the 2 men's attitude. With that, the guards prepare to teach him a lesson with force. One of them attacks him, but his sword can't pierce the buff guy's body. The guard is shocked and wonders why his body is so tough. The buff friend then confirms that they really dared to attack him. With a swift movement, he grabs the guard by the collar with great force, and just like that, he throws the 2 men far away with incredible strength. The other guards inside are shocked by the commotion. Then more guards arrive, and he defends himself, saying he was attacked first. A supervisor then appears and asks what's happening there at the gate. The young man accuses him of being a thief and breaking into the masked leader's room. Our hero then scoffs at the accusation and reveals the man's affair with the concubine. Terrified, the young man asks if he was sent by his father to watch them. With that, the protagonist discovers that the man is the son of the Union leader. He then confronts him and asks if Komusang is aware of his sins. The woman tells him to get rid of the intruder, so there's no evidence of what they did. Desperate, she screams for him to take down the masked man before someone hears them. With that, the leader's son charges with his sword to attack our hero. The protagonist finds the attack foolish and says, There's no way an emotional strike can hit him. Suddenly, the man starts spitting up a dark liquid and stops his attack. Lying on the ground, he's in agony as the protagonist says, "It's better to end this quickly." The woman is terrified when she realizes the masked man has taken down the leader's son. She then understands he wasn't sent by the union boss to spy on them. She then approaches and places a hand on our hero's chest to get his attention. The woman asks him to take her away because she's being held there against her will. With a bold proposal, she offers to become his woman and return the favor. The protagonist stares at her for a moment and seems to consider her proposal, but suddenly, the woman appears tied up on the bed, completely shocked by the situation. He says he won't get rid of her, but warns her not to scream and attract the guards. And with that, he advises her to beg for her life when the leader arrives. The protagonist thinks the woman is a snake and that his leader would have trouble with her. He then finds what looks like a secret passage in the wall of the room. With a quick move, he opens the passage and enters the hidden room. Inside, he wonders if the place is empty and if his search was in vain. He then takes off his mask and breathes a sigh of relief after the tense moment. But the young man says at least he won't leave empty-handed. Meanwhile, in the prison, the leader frees 2 prisoners who thank him. One of them introduces himself and says he will be forever in his hero's debt. The masked man tells them to repay the dead outside and escape safely. Alone, he thinks he has searched everywhere, but hasn't found the children. With that, he concludes they must be with his other companions. Suddenly, a whip flies past him at high speed. His eyes widen as he senses the presence of a powerful opponent. He then turns around and sees the prisoners being stopped by a woman. She says she can't let them escape while she's on guard duty. One of the prisoners is terrified and seems to recognize the mysterious woman. She is introduced as Ya the Blood Whip, says she. This woman is a flame phoenix hired by the Union 6 months ago. The Union leader was more interested in her than in her skills. To avoid problems, she always demanded payment in advance and then left. But she was disgusted by what the leader did to the doctor and his family. His act of betrayal and taking hostages made her want to leave that place. With that, she refused to track the doctor and decided to stay and observe. Her mind was already made up to leave as soon as the union boss returned. But she says her current duty is a separate matter, and a job is a job. She then threatens them to return to their cells, and she'll pretend she saw nothing. Just then, the woman attacks the squad leader with her whip without hesitation. She says if he plans to resist, she'll have no choice but to fight. Her title is due to her beauty and the countless men her whip has defeated. The leader then tells the prisoners to run while he buys them time. The woman glares at him and says that by letting them go, he must be behind everything. The masked man thinks he heard about a master guarding the place, but didn't expect a woman. The fight then begins, with the woman unleashing multiple attacks with her whip. The squad leader dodges the blows with agility and great difficulty. She then focuses her attack on a single point with devastating force. One of the prisoners who couldn't escape is hit squarely by the blow. With his cloak, the leader manages to defend himself from the woman's brutal attack. He feels his arm go numb and thinks he can't keep blocking like this. The woman praises him, and he wonders if he really needs to face her. He then thinks that one day he would have no choice and would have to fight a woman. At that moment, the squad leader remembers his mother and the cost of failure. Back in the fight, a woman taunts him for risking his life for others. With his eyes closed, the captain focuses for the battle to come. He then charges forward and delivers a powerful blow to the ground to create a distraction. The enemy scoffs at him for fighting, with his eyes closed, and finds it ridiculous. Moving quickly, the squad leader dodges the attacks from her whip. He continues to evade the blows with impressive agility. With a precise movement, he lands as the woman's attacks miss their target. Even with his eyes closed, he can predict the opponent's every move. Annoyed, the woman challenges him to dodge her next attack, which will be stronger. The captain then continues to easily dodge the whip's blows. The enemy's attacks become faster, but he isn't hit a single time. She smiles and thinks that his approach was something she had expected. With that, She says his next move was also part of her plan. With his eyes now open, the leader prepares for a quick counter-attack. The woman is surprised, thinking he used a throwing weapon, but she realizes he just faked the throw to trick her. She then says she won't be defeated so easily and prepares for the blow. But the captain is faster and hits her with a powerful punch to her body. The blow lands squarely, and the woman seems to feel the full force of the impact. The squad leader prepares for combat and defends a blow with his sword. Seeing an opening, the woman advances with her whip for a quick attack, but he manages to dodge and immobilize her with a precise and swift move. The woman is completely shocked at being caught by surprise. Now with a small blade at her neck, she is completely subdued. With a firm hand, he holds her, and she can't believe she was defeated. The masked man thinks it's annoying to have lost to her so easily. He then knocks her out and throws her over his shoulder to carry her away. He then realizes the woman saw his face and becomes worried about the situation. He remembers being warned to get rid of anyone who saw his face. He then regrets his mercy, which has put him in this complicated situation. With a doubtful expression, he seems unsure of what to do next. But with the dagger in hand, he seems to have made a difficult decision. He then runs towards one of the prison cells with the woman on his shoulder, and so he leaves her unconscious inside the cell along with her whip. Meanwhile, somewhere else, the protagonist's friend is moving across the rooftops, but he is spotted by some guards who shout for him to stop immediately. With a furious look, he ignores them and continues on his determined path. Inside a room, some men are doing bad things to two girls. A mysterious shadow appears in the room, and one of the girls looks up. The men turn around, confused, and ask who is there watching them. The masked friend then appears and attacks the men to protect the girls. With a powerful kick, he sends one of the guards flying violently. Furious, another man charges to attack the young warrior with his sword. The masked man observes the aura around his opponent's blade. He then recognizes the technique and realizes it's a QI sword. The guard smiles and understands he's facing a top-tier martial artist.